We have 24/7 climatologists who are watching weather patterns. We see the right storm that we can see, then we remotely kick these on.
This is a cloud seeding machine on Mount Potosi, installed here to bring more rain to Red Rock Canyon.
We can get at least 10% additional precipitation.
The generator shoots silver iodide into passing storms.
It was accidentally discovered in the late 1940s that if you introduced ice into certain types of clouds, that you could get those ice crystals to grow into snowflake sizes and fall out.
There's a big valley there to the south, and so the storms just come in through there.
Pauline Van Betten with the group Save Red Rock helped raise the money needed to bring the generator to the mountain. Elated with the results after the first year.
We had over 2 billion gallons of water added to the system.
DRI says their generators add billions of gallons to the water supply every year. Utah now claims to run the world's largest remote-controlled cloud seeding program. Researchers from the University of Utah and Utah State University are now using laser-based technology to examine clouds and storm evolution with the goal of seeding storms and increasing the winter snowpack. Long-term evaluations of cloud seeding programs suggest it does make a difference.
Tried to match the ranger with the big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip. Big iron, when he tried to match the ranger with.
So pack up your car, put a hand in your heart, say whatever you feel, be wherever you are. We ain't angry at you, love. You're the greatest thing we've lost.
Baby.
In the arms of the angel. I said, ooh. Hello.
With the new digital Mavica from Sony, you can take your photos on a normal floppy disk and see them on your computer. easy and instantaneous. And you don't need additional connections or special software. What are you laughing at? The new digital Mavica.
We're in the Bolshevik war right now, bro. And right now what's coming up is all the pride stuff is going to be... Okay, so I had this woman come on my podcast. Her name's Mel K. She goes, I've been talking to some people in the intelligence, and they go, this gay pride stuff is going away. And the next thing you're going to see are immigration riots. This is going to be right around the next election. So, hand to God, we do this episode. Next day, Starbucks is like, we're banning all the pride stuff. And now you start seeing these they're putting little breadcrumbs out, man. Little breadcrumbs. Oh, I saw this one thing in Chicago. Oh, yeah, illegal immigrants are upset about where they're staying. And these illegal immigrants who speak no English are holding up perfectly written English signs saying we're tired of how we're being treated. And now you're starting to see this over and over again. Eric, so everyone's always like when all these Republican governors are like sending these immigrants all over the country, everyone's like, yeah, you're showing those Democrats. Bro, they're moving assets. I know it sounds crazy, but that is 100%
What do you mean they're moving assets? What do you mean?
Dude, these guys coming into the country, bro, have you seen them? A lot of them are Chinese, and a lot of them are military-age people. Too. And I'm telling you, they're moving, and this is what's going to be right around 2024 election. Immigration riots, people going nuts, and as listen to this, and you'll start seeing all the little breadcrumbs. I'm telling you, that's what they want you to think.
You're buying it.
Oh, I thought
they're
I was
moving assets, bro.
You're the puppet.
They're moving assets.
What do you mean, like military people?
Dude, study the Bolshevik War. It is happening in real time. 100%.
But
I just wanted to get that out to everybody because I'm trying to warn people. This is what's next.
Hey, folks. As you can see, up here on the bench, working on a 1928 Philco radio receiver. Why not? Something to do on a very cold winter night. Listen, I just want to remind everybody that WBCQ, which is analog radio at its best, broadcasting on the international shortwaves, is your best bet for news, information, entertainment. Go to our website, WBCQ.com, download the full schedule, and listen and support our efforts to keep free speech radio alive for a worldwide audience. And you, too, can become a broadcaster over a real transmitter. Our rates are the lowest in the business, and that's our job, to get people on the air. And it's all free speech, so whatever you have to say or play is welcome on good old WBCQ. Remember, WBCQ.com is our website. Shortwave is our medium. 9330, 7490, 6160, and 5130 kilohertz are some of our main frequencies. God bless you all. Happy New Year. And let's make 2026 a banner year for freedom and analog and free speech radio. Blessings to all.
Yo, what the frick? What the actual frick am I, bro? What? I'm out here DoorDash and I turn around to, bro, what the frick?
My head's a mess. It's like that every day, and I'll try my best. It sounds cliche, but tell me, would you wait for me? Baby, I'm a rolling stone. I got a lot of right in me, but I don't wanna say this wrong. Tell me, would you stay with me? Baby.
The only other thing that was found was the engine on Murray Street, and the engine on Murray Street has been identified as either a CFM 56. CFM stands for Synecma, or the CF6, which was a 767 engine, which was developed out of the CFM 56. But whichever one it was, the CF6 or the CFM 56, it had to be General Electric. And unfortunately, or fortunately, United Airlines used strictly Pratt & Whitney. So that engine that you see flying off, and that engine they say is from 175, isn't from 175 because the guys whose job was to dump it off there dumped off the wrong engine.
Don't listen to the madness. Turn it off. How many of you are sending people, do you believe they're doing this now? Do you believe that? What are you getting? You might as well do this. Go stand here at a bush going, can you believe that Don Lemon goes into a church? Are you doing something about it? That's what they want you doing. You're sucking your energy and you're yelling at others. You're debating. You're online. I'll show you who's smart and who's not smart. I mean, that's what you're doing. They got you. That's called mind control. It's called energy harvesting. They are harvesting your energy. Do not let these demons harvest your energy.
The summer wind came blowing in from across the sea. It lingered there to touch your hair and walk with me. All summer long we sang a song, and then we strolled that golden sand.
This is a certified hood classic. Trapaholics mixtape.
DJ Cartoon. This Chicago, nigga.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
DJ Fanatic. Evil.
Like you ain't know. Trapaholic, bitch.
Ease and CDs.
Cartoon Network. Real trap shit.
Heated tool thong. 20 reinforced loops keep every essential within reach, while the FlexFit waist moves with you. 3 adjustable heat settings keep your core warm, and built-in suspender loops take the load off when you need it.
In 1963, General Mills put a tiny plastic whistle inside Cap'n Crunch cereal. Just a fun toy. For kids. Unfortunately, the whistle made exactly 2,600 hertz, which was the secret, "Yes, this line is open" sound for the entire US phone system. So while AT&T was running the most powerful telecom network on Earth, they were also getting absolutely folded by breakfast. Kids blew the whistle into payphones and accidentally unlocked free long-distance calls across the country, around the world. AT&T spent billions building the system. General Mills spent 5 cents on plastic. A whole underground group popped up called phone phreaks, people who realized the phone network could be hacked with vibes. One guy could literally whistle the tone with his mouth and take control of phone lines. Another guy named himself Captain Crunch and leaned all the way in. Then, 2 college kids showed up. One built the hacking device. The other sold it. Their names were Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Yes, that Apple. Jobs later said if it weren't for serial whistles hacking phones, Apple wouldn't exist. So remember, Silicon Valley wasn't born in a garage. It was born in a cereal box that accidentally taught kids how to hack a billion-dollar monopoly. If you like this, follow me for more.
Bono links up with Jeffrey Sachs in the 90s and actually a little bit before that, doing this international development work. Now, Bono, of course, is U2. He's the front man. He's this international sex symbol at the time and, giant selling out stadiums. He did these big kind of USAID fundraiser concerts, Band Aid and Live Aid. The BBC later reported that of the $100 million raised for hunger relief in Somalia at Band Aid, 95 million of it went to CIA-backed warlords to buy guns. So this is like another one of these things where you think you're raising public awareness. Oh, there's a hunger problem in Somalia. But there's also a civil war where you've got the CIA taking sides in that civil war. And these groups need weapons, logistics, supplies. And so when you've got USAID vans coming in that are said to be carrying medical supplies or they're doing hunger relief, but you can't open that box because then the food will expire, it's very easy to hide guns in them. And so when you see these scandals where all this money is going not to make the world a better place and kumbaya and we're bringing food and medicine, but you're bringing guns, the money is being diverted for CIA covert action to actually kill people, not save people. Right. And so Bono was formally knighted by the British Crown, and he met with the UK ambassador after he helped put down the Irish revolt against the British Crown. If you remember Sunday Bloody Sunday, no more war. It's like, you look at it now, he's got the Ukraine emoji in his bio, and the whole thing is war against Russia, but no war against the British Crown. And I'm being knighted by the British Crown. I'm now Sir Bono because I helped put down that war.
I'm one of the leading cybersecurity researchers on flock safety, and I'm going to explain to you what I've learned in the past 7 months in under 2 minutes. So they started with license plate readers in this 2018 patent for a dynamic surveillance network. These LPRs feed video into their AI model, which is trained to identify people, vehicles, animals, and bikes. After their model was trained, they expanded beyond LPR to video cameras that live stream with people detection and vehicle detection capabilities. One difference between LPR and video cameras, based on their website, is that video cameras have people and vehicle capabilities, while LPR is exclusively for vehicles. Early in 2025, in a private seminar, they announced that all LPRs nationwide were upgraded into video cameras for free. So we can assume all LPRs are now video cameras and have their capabilities. So anytime you drive or walk past a flock safety camera, it detects your location, the time, and everything it can identify in the video, which is then stored for 30 days by default, and up to 5 years if your local police department pays for it. All this video becomes searchable content for you, your vehicle, or your license plate for however long they choose to store that data, but at a minimum of 30 days. Now, at this point, they needed more sensors in their dynamic surveillance network, so they created the Wing Gateway. The Wing Gateway turns any IP camera into an AI-powered flock camera. This means gas station cameras, residential cameras, payment terminals, Ring doorbells. Essentially, any device that has video can be integrated as another surveillance node. They then added Raven, which is their audio detection device for gunshots. But if they follow the same strategy we saw for the LPRs, in the next few years, we can expect them to have general audio surveillance integrated with everyday devices as well. All these camera and audio devices feed into Flock OS, where they could search and create alerts for people and vehicles. So every device in their network nationwide becomes a deputized surveillance node that's constantly watching or listening.
I've put my trust in you, pushed as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you should know. I tried.
Welcome to the Independent Review, a weekly podcast where we bring you the latest from the world of independent journalism.
Well, I stumbled in at 2 a.m. all drunk and full of smoke. My wife said I have had enough, that said I'm sick, get out. So I stumbled down to Kelly's pub, across the edge of town. And I told the boys my story, and we had another round. Now we'll drink and fight. We'll drink and fight. And if I see a pretty girl, I'll sleep with her tonight. Yes, I'll drink and fight. Well, she was a pretty whore. She'd always greet you with a smile and never lock her door. But on the day she died, all the men in town did weep. For Mary McGregor finally got some sleep. Now we'll drink and fight. We'll drink and fight. And if I see a pretty girl, I'll sleep with her tonight. Yes, we'll drink and fight. Loved a girl, a child I'm told. I gave her my heart and she gave me a cold. So now I sit standing here out in the pouring rain. I'll stumble back to Kelly's pub and cry away me pain. I'll drink and fight. We'll drink and fight. And if I see a pretty girl, I'll sleep with her tonight. And I'll drink and fight.
Welcome to the Independent Review, live on AM Wake Up on Odyssey, Rumble, Substack, and the Indie News Network on Twitter. Let's jump right into this first clip with Scott Armstrong.
Welcome to Bot Stoppers, episode 6. We got a bunch of killer robots in the house. We got some silly robots in the house. We got some freaky robots in the house. And I'm really starting to get into the zone here, okay, guys? I'm getting a lot of good feedback about the show. People are loving it. If you guys could do me a favor, if you're listening on the podcast, 5-star review, okay? I need you to give me a thumbs up on the channel right now. Please stop what you're doing and thumbs up wherever you're watching this. Subscribe to the channel. Small price to pay. It's free. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. And I genuinely mean that, okay? Please help me know what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. I'm really here to put on the best show I possibly can, but I need your guys' feedback. Please help me out here. And if you can't do anything else, please just thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the show. You know, that's what it's all about. As we move along here, all of the sources to every single thing that we talk about are going to be on my Substack, and that's at rebunked.substack.com. And you can, so this is the last episode, episode 5. You'll click on that, and it will take you to a post that contains, I'll just show you right here. So you click on that, you scroll down, it has the YouTube show embedded in there, And then all the sources. See, you see all the sources from the last episode. Every single thing we talked about is linked up right there. So if there's anything that you wanted to see more of or you wanted to share, see, look at that. I got all the sources linked up, dude, for you, for free. Now, while you're on Substack, if you want to subscribe for $5 a month, at least subscribe for free, but then, of course, subscribe for $5 a month. Well, if you subscribe for free, it'll give you an email blast when a new episode drops. I'm going to try to get them out on Mondays. But, I can't 100% guarantee that, but I'm going to really try. But we're here Monday night tonight, Monday the 19th. So really stoked to be with you all. So that's my only call to action. Go follow and support the show. All right, we're going to set the tone for tonight. This is a video from Palantir. It's called, and you guys know what Palantir is, right? This is Peter Thiel and the boys, right? This is Trump's little right-hand man, Mr. Peter Thiel, who formerly owned a company called Ambrosia, which was all about taking the blood of and plasma from children and injecting them into rich old people for life extension. Now, okay, good times. Same Peter Thiel, right? Same Peter Thiel. Now, anyway, this is a commercial by Palantir on the official Palantir website or YouTube channel, and it's called "The Future of Warfare." Let's watch. Nice production value. I love to make damn little drones, dude. Drone swarm. There it is. Battles are won before they begin. Palantir. So that's, I don't know if that's their catchphrase or if that's like kind of their brand, but yeah, that's really what it is, you guys. Wars stop before they even start. And what does that entail? So let's think about that for a minute, okay? So there are so many different wars going on, kinetic warfare. We have the situation in Ukraine. Of course, we have the Gaza genocide happening, and then and we know that Palantir is actively deploying their technology in Gaza, the Lavender program, all these situations. So Palantir is live in the real world murdering people with autonomous drones and autonomous technology. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that is just happening over there, and it would never happen over here. But a lot of these battle spaces are where these weapon systems are tested and perfected. So I would argue that if it exists, it's not off the table to be used against you and your family at a future date. And so that's why we're here at Bot Stoppers, because we're having the conversation about what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are we collectively as a society going to do about it? Because it's kind of funny. Speaking of, I thought it was appropriate to keep in the background, but I can't really see it with the camera set up. But I'm charging my drone right here as my little DJI Mavic 4. I was on a video shoot earlier, and I thought that'd be kind of appropriate to have my drone charging there in the background. But I love drones, dude. Drones are great. They're great tools. I use them to gain more freedom and autonomy in my life by offering high-level video services to people, and that includes drone work. So drones are great. It's not the Oh, Margot's sniffing it. She's like, what the heck? Margot does not like drones. Margot had a little incident with the drone the other day, and she was not too happy with it. One of the propellers hit her in the face because I was coming in for a landing, and I was like, Margot, stay back. But she just charged it, and I couldn't stop her, and the little blade hit her in the cheek, and I'm so sorry, Margot. I love you. Anyway, so Margot also doesn't like drones, but it took the drone out. Maybe we just need attack dogs. But that's only if they're 2 feet above the ground. So anyway, so the war stops before it even starts. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that they have to gather intelligence ahead of time. That means that they need to identify their enemy. They need to identify their target. They need to understand the enemy and the target. They need to understand the target's movements, its motives, its incentives. And how does it do that? By gathering intel, by spying, by looking behind the curtain. And we know that Palantir is integrating fully with the U.S. government system and probably many foreign governments as well. I know probably Israel. They're fully integrated with Israel. So basically what they're doing is they're creating the conditions by which they will know the enemy before they even strike, which in a far-off world, I mean, you guys see what's going on in the world, I'm not going to get too political, but it's like, there's some crazy stuff going on, right? And then there's all sorts of weird things that if you decide that you're not okay with that for whatever reason, you may be on a list, or you're probably already on a list. I'm probably already on a list. Like, we're just on a list. So just add me to another list, okay? If there's a list out there, I'm probably on it. And for all the new Palantir lists, I know that I'm not alone in this audience when I say that we're proud members of whatever list you got. So the war's won before they even start. So that's also, don't let them get you down, dude, okay? Remember, don't let them intimidate you with language like that. Have you guys seen the Ghost in the Machine ad? I'm sure many of you have. Hell, it's worth watching right here. And this goes to my point. This was put out by the Army PsyOps division. Right? The Psychological Operations Division, the 4th Army PsyOp group, okay? The official YouTube channel for the 4th Psychological Operations Group Airborne. Now, hold on. Is this really? Okay, hold on. I'm going to pull this up on my browser tab here. Okay, so this is the 4th PsyOp group. Is this really an official U.S. military Army group? 4th Psycho Airborne official Fort Bragg. Okay, maybe, but I don't know if this is like a U.S. government run thing. PsyOps, look at these guys. They got the PsyOps. They're in the PsyOps division. I mean, this is interesting. Psy-War, the PsyOp ball. Like, is this real? They have, like, PsyOp parties. They have PsyOp parties, you guys. They literally have PsyOp parties. The 4th Army PsyOp group. Okay, let's go back. Facebook. Now, a lot of times these will have, like, check marks indicating that they are a actual government agency. 6.4 thousand followers. Government organization. The 4th Psychological Operations Group Airborne. Remember the fall. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, it's up in the air. Like, I was under the impression that this is an official government-run thing, but I don't see, like, the typical, like, little emblems or whatever. But anyway, so this is... Oh, they have a new video out. GRP deletion. Anyway, maybe we'll watch that another time. But this is... Man, they've got all kinds of new videos coming out. But this is the one that sticks out to me. And I guess I'll preface this by giving my analysis up front. And so what really strikes me from this video that we will watch here in just a second is the idea that they try to inculcate and indoctrinate into your mind that you're helpless. Like, this is the idea of the panopticon. Are you guys familiar with the panopticon? I mean, it might be worth getting into. Panopticon. All right, the Panopticon. The Panopticon is an 18th century prison design by Jeremy Bentham, featuring a small central tower where guards watch inmates in surrounding cells, ensuring inmates internalize surveillance and self-discipline because they never know if they're being watched. I mean, that's the key. The key is at the central guard tower. The guards can't, or the inmates can't see the guard, but the guard can see all of them. So there's basically like a one-way glass or something like that, one-way glass, so that they just assume that they're under surveillance at all times because they can't tell when they are or are not actually under surveillance. So they have to operate under the assumption that they're under surveillance at all times. So it's this idea that if you give the public the impression that there's this all-knowing, all-powerful, ominous force out there watching you at all times, then you just have that perception that you're being watched at all times. But I say Palantir and the boys, look, Palantir, okay, think about it. Peter Thiel is way more concerned about like drinking the blood of children. Oh gosh, I'm going to get a strike for bullying Peter Thiel. You know what I mean? He's got bigger things on his plate than watching you on every single, and plus, this is the federal government. This is the government, okay? I've had to do a lot of business with the IRS lately for my business stuff, and these guys are idiots, dude. They use like DOS-based systems, like still. Like they're using computers and stuff from like the 90s. I'm not even joking, dude. They use faxes. Why do I have to fax something to the IRS? These are the people that I'm supposed to be afraid of? Like these government agencies that are still using fax machines and DOS systems? These are the entities that I'm supposed to be afraid of? No. They put out this propaganda to get you scared and get you worried that they're around every corner, they're coming to get you. And maybe they got me so worked up that I started an entire show called Bot Stoppers. But when in fact, at the end of the day, they are useless, incompetent, wage slave idiots. That's what the government actually is a bunch of weak, overweight, diabetic, sloppy, idiotic, pathetic, and I'm sorry if you work at like the DMV and I'm describing you accurately, I'm sorry, but that's what the government by and large is. A bunch of bureaucrats and people that they're definitely not coming for you, but that's a very broad generalization. Those are the useful idiots, the soldiers that will end up maybe getting deployed. The idea that they're just clicking a button and following the rules. Look, if they just push a button, oh, we have to do this whole horrific thing to this entire city. Well, I'm just following orders. I'm just doing what I say. So even though I do paint them in such a light, they could be very damaging and dangerous for your health and freedom. That's for dang sure. So I guess at the same time, these advanced systems and technologies, they're being deployed by idiots. And that's what the government is idiots. Now, the Army, these are not, there's a different ballgame. These the Army, Marines, all these folks, people that work in the armed services, they're, I would say, a bit more competent, maybe not a whole lot more competent, but a bit more fearless and hardworking. So, it's a formidable adversary, the United States. But at the end of the day, they're idiots and they're pathetic and they suck. And so I'm not too scared of them. But as this robotic thing gets more and more into the future, I do have a little bit of concern, and that's why we're here today. So I want to show you this, though, because this is the Ghost in the Machine. I've always loved this from a filmmaking standpoint. They do such a good job. Now, if the goal of this, they were told, I want you to put the fear of God into all the people to make them think that there's a psyop guy around every corner, they nailed it. This is one of the best pieces of filmmaking I've ever seen in my life. And it's a little outdated. It's from 3 years ago. I remember when it first came out, though. I was like, damn. It's one of the best pieces of filmmaking I've ever seen in my life. And I would love to create something this awesome. But this is it's called The Ghost in the Machine by the 4th Army Division. Excuse me there. Let's try that again. Here we go. If you're just listening, it says, if your opponent is choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Pretend to be weak that he may grow arrogant. Sun Tzu.
As the world watches,
have you ever wondered?
In horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Who's pulling the strings?
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering, do or die.
I'm just gonna be quiet. If you're just listening, you gotta just come watch it on the YouTube channel.
You say your last good night while I get
All the world's a stage.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldiers. and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night close in.
But the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
We are everywhere.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
Psy War. What are we?
These are the Psy War soldiers.
Woo-wee doggy. What'd you guys think of that one? Now, that's the idea of them saying, we are everywhere and we are nowhere. We are everything, we are nothing. All the world's a stage and you'll never know who. It makes you question everything. Is everybody a PSYOP agent? Are you? Am I? Who knows? Am I a PSYOP agent? I might be. I don't know. After watching that, I can't even differentiate myself from an actual PSYOP. But anyway, so I thought you guys would get a kick out of that because that's, I'm sure most of you have seen that already, but if you haven't, again, it's worth a rewatch and a share, and that will be on the Substack post from this episode. So, man, gone off on a tangent here. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to cover everything today because I wasn't even sure if I was going to have enough, so I kind of stacked the deck a little bit. So, but we'll just keep pushing along here. So, all right. So let's have some fun. This is a lot of your favorite part of the show where we just look at the state of the technology and all the silly, wacky robots that are out there. So this is, one of the themes of the show is looking at the different jobs that might be taken by robots. And there's the new gig economy that emerged in the last 10 years, 5 years, really since the lockdown era where, if you're kind of down on your luck, you can always just go drive an Uber or you could go DoorDash or, hey, you might be able, you can probably make a pretty good living doing that. You know what I'm saying? Or be an Amazon delivery driver. Shout out to the Amazon delivery drivers. Much love. But I hate to say it, but the robots are coming for your jobs too. So this is Wall A. That's hilarious. End-to-end embodied intelligence foundation model designed to plan, reason, and act across complex physical sequences. It's an X-Square robot. Just released the real-world footage of the world's first fully autonomous food delivery robot, powered by Wall A embodied foundation model. So there you go. So delivery is about to go fully autonomous. Let's take a look. Oh, he's dropping off the mail. He's bringing you your goy slop. He's bringing your slop. And we got drones. So this is in China, as you can tell by the writing. He's literally putting tape on a package, getting ready to ship it. He's having a little bit of a little bit of trouble with his arm there. Oh, look, he's opening it. He's opening the package. Wow. Oh, wow. So the drone drops off the food package, and then this little critter, it's a Subway. Wow. Okay. Oh, and then watch this. Does he actually fold it up and dispose of the package? Wow, look at that. It's probably more... Oh, I thought he was mailing something. He's disposing of his litter. Look, they teach him how to collapse a box. Wow. And recycle it. Now, okay. Now, is this really fully autonomous? Oh, see, look at the people walking in the background. This is way sped up. So that probably took about... 10 times speed, it says. 10x speed. So that took about 20 minutes. So the good news is that Amazon and DoorDash drivers, your job's not going anywhere anytime soon. Well, at the rate things are escalating, it might happen sooner rather than later. But At least not tomorrow. So you got a few more weeks or months, maybe a year or two left. And so get it while you can.
Now we take a look at this clip from Charlie Robinson and Ryan Cristian.
Welcome to What the Hell is Happening. It looks like I've got something playing in the background. Thanks, YouTube. Well, welcome to another episode of What the Hell is Happening. I really, really love that intro. Let us know what you think. The same one as made the others. He asked not to be named, but he's just another supporter of the platform like you guys out there, and just somebody talented. Somebody who I've told if and when, hopefully when we get to a point where we're bringing people on for stuff just like that, that he will be the person I reach out to. Outstanding. But today, Charlie joining yet again to have a conversation about what the hell is happening. And interestingly, we were talking about how the conversation we focused on last time, one of the many things, but the kind of main topic was Renee Good and Minneapolis and the weird focus on all of that. And today we're going to talk about Alex Preddy and many other things. But let's throw it to you, Charlie, out of the gate to see what's on your mind today and just how are you?
If I'm the mainstream media, I just get myself an apartment in Minneapolis and just stay there permanently, because it seems like every psyop is now just running through. It's the only, is it a stage or a city? Because it feels very unusual to me that these things keep happening in the same place over and over again with the same baked in local government that's doing this every time, or Ilhan Omar, the new thing. I'm sure we'll get into that. It just feels very cartoonish, Truman Show-esque, and I'm about ready for season 1, or I guess this is season 2 of Minneapolis to be over. I'm ready for some other show, but because the one that we're watching is getting a bit old.
Yeah, I really agree. It's stale, And what's interesting is, and I hope remind me if I don't, I would like to get into Walz and Omar, and we both agreed many times on this about pretty much most politicians. I think we agree on her in some way. I mean, you can't look at how much money she has versus what she started with and not recognize that there's something a little bit weird there. There's some profiteering going on. And so, it's important to for those that may be new, it's very clear that we see government and all sides as problematic. And what I think you were highlighting there is, that there are crimes being committed, but I don't think anyone's going to go to jail, which is now being kind of leaned into by Trump, basically going, now we're going to work together. We're going to walk this back, which I think is good to a degree because of how crazy this is. But I do agree those people are criminals, but I never thought they were going to be arrested in the first place. I hope people on the Republican support side can be like, okay, well, either he is no longer concerned about the crime because this is in his interest, or he lied about the crime because that was in his interest. There's really no other way you can look at that, but Omar and the rest, it's important to see that I think it's a long-term game of pointing at the other side, but the Minneapolis thing, I mean, like I think I said jokingly before we started, or kind of just facetious, I guess not even jokingly, but are there not immigration discussions to be had in other cities and other states? I'm sure there are other things going on, but this weird focus, this over, and then on top of that, are they really even going after immigration right now, or more so just aiming at protests? It feels very contrived. Right. And obviously, even if you agree with everything that they're doing, which I'd be baffled by that, seeing as how they're blatantly unconstitutional. But even if you do, this is going in the wrong direction from what everybody was told would happen from any side. So this is why I think we're having this major awareness moment, again, which you and I have been talking about every show for a while now, that people are starting to see through this. I think now it's becoming a mainstream conversation. So interesting.
Yeah. There's no escaping it now. Everybody's tuned in and watching this show. It's very cartoonish in some respects. And I think it stopped being about loading people up into airplanes and flying them back to their home country. It's now more of a just let's fight with protesters, and that'll make the news. I don't know that the numbers support people actually even being in the street upset about the rounding ups and deportations. I think the numbers are pretty low. I mean, I think if they were going to be in the streets to protest the mass deportations, where were you during Obama's term? When this was happening like crazy, but now they're out here. And so it plays well for television, I suppose, but I don't know that there's really, I don't know that we have a deportation problem. I think we just have I think that this is what you're going to get for 4 years. You're going to get the left creating problems and gumming up the works and throwing sand in the machine as much as they can to try and make sure that Donald Trump gets no progress in anything that he wants regardless of whether they wanted it at one point or not. Just the fact that if he's in favor of it, they have to be opposed to it. So it's a bit of a show. I feel, sorry for the people of Minneapolis that have to get dragged into this seemingly every year, I guess. But there's something really unnatural about the government structure there. I mean, governments in general, obviously I'm no fan of, but theirs in particular is a weird flavor of democratic control mixed in with some sort of unusual foreign policy that designated Minneapolis as the landing spot for this. By the way, like 15, 20 years ago. I mean, it wasn't any time. This isn't a new thing. They're sort of making it out to be a new thing, but I mean, it's been this way for a while. So it's unusual that they've targeted that state in particular and Minneapolis to run all of the psychological operations through for a while. I'm ready for a change of scenery. Let's move on.
Yeah, I agree. But I would think what's interesting to me is, I don't think that what Trump is doing or even what any part of the government is doing is actually concerned about immigration. This is just the mechanism through which this is being used, in my opinion. So when the idea is that, but I do agree with the base level, that from the idea of the average people on the street who don't realize the bigger game that we think is playing out, that ultimately they are in there, you're right, trying to stop what they're doing and stop. So, you could argue that at some level there is a process. Okay, let's just start with the point of immigration. Clearly, if we're going to be objective, there is a process there that if we're going to live in this state of society, which we are, that is a law, people are breaking it, and there are deportations. That's part of how this works. And most people in left or right would acknowledge that. This comes down to this ideological, okay, if they're going to do it this way, then we're going to say nothing. And then they're going to, then all of it, it always is all or nothing in the partisan game. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this game where they're out there protesting largely what I see as, and I think this is just what not left or right, because there are people all over the spectrum protesting this because of the way they're doing it. Now, there are some, like you said, out there protesting because they just think immigration shouldn't exist or because they think too many are being wrongly deported. But then we get into a weird overlap where, well, they are to a degree. But then you're also then overshadowing the people that maybe should have been deported. This is where the partisan game is always so convoluted, because there is a truth to that. They are deporting. A Wall Street Journal report just came out, and I've proven this myself in the past, like the Plain El Salvador, that the vast majority of people they're getting rid of are not criminals. In many cases, not even illegally here. They're in some limbo point of the process. And that seems to be the majority. And I was picking up on this in the beginning, people legally showing up to their meetings, but don't technically have it yet. And they just deport them because of a traffic ticket or something like that. It's just kind of over the top. But go ahead. You're going to say something?
The method is of course disgusting to see the, ICE come in and act like goons. And so I guess there's part of me, I'm glad that the left is recognizing the disgusting nature of the state.
Or anybody.
But the problem is that I don't have any sort of fantasies that they're going to then recognize, oh, this is bad on both sides. They'll, of course, use the state for their own means once they get in power. And of course, it's my belief that the left is exceptionally cruel and that there is no line that they won't cross. I'm making generalizations here, of course, but I think the conservative side is a little bit more realistic about what it means to be in a civil war. And I think the left is more diluted and in this fantasy world where it's Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and they're LARPing as revolutionaries. And I think that it would be nice if the left would recognize, hey, you know how disgusting ICE is when they're doing this? It goes both ways, right? It's disgusting when both parties are using it. Not just when Donald Trump uses ICE to do this, but also when Joe Biden does. And by the way, he did. ICE didn't just spring into existence under Trump. I mean, this has been around here. And then it maybe, and I don't think it actually will, but maybe for some of these people, it will lead to a much deeper conversation about the Patriot Act, which is the core of this whole thing. It's like, hey, listen, you're mad about ICE and you're mad about this and you're mad about, let me talk to you about the root of the problem here, the Patriot Act. And then, maybe people could open up to understand that this isn't a red team, red team only uses ICE, blue team is the moral high ground. No. This is the this is how they convince you. That this is the team sport component of it. But if people would recognize, if they could ever get themselves to be ideologically consistent, which I know is an impossible task, but if they could, and say, I'm against this because I'm against this, and I'm against it when their guy does it, and I'm against it when my guy does it too. Like, if you could say that, things would be way better. We'd have a much greater chance of having a conversation or having some sort of common ground here. But as long as people are all or nothing with this, and they're unwilling or unable to acknowledge that their side is guilty of some bad things too, then we're never really going to get anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, I hope it was just on my end. You were cutting out here and there. I hope that everyone got what you were saying, because it was important, the point you were making there. But I might have missed little parts of it, but I think I got the most of what you were laying out there. And I think what's important, we're kind of going over the same point, which is this is really important to make sure, from one point, to recognize that there is shocking levels of hypocrisy at not even just the team sport level, but people who have invested their identities on the sides, and there's a variance there. And it is important that we acknowledge that. We can't solve a problem until we acknowledge that it's there, right? And this is happening. People that I would think see beyond it sometimes still fall into that trap. I would even argue that we do here and there, from without realizing it. But the important point is, like you were highlighting, is that it is on all sides of this, and that people will ignore it when they see their team doing it because they rationalize it. But I'm of the mind that that's getting more represented and more, I guess, in just the team sport side, as opposed to just the rest of the grouping. But I also say that I'm not sure if I agree with, I think it oscillates. I think it goes back and forth, where you have, like during COVID, 100% agree, right? And that's how this tends to go, where you've got the power element and the people that are the ones fighting the power. So right now the right wants to frame itself as still fighting the power. And that's just, I guess, the extension of the game they're playing. But at that time, I agree with you entirely, but I tend to see it a little bit on the other side right now. I see the same exact problem now being more represented on the side of the right, who is ignoring that their team is doing it, just like you said. But I would stand back from that and even say, I've got my lenses. The things that I see, that at the end of the day, we're both saying the same thing, maybe just see it slanted one way or the other. And at the end of the day, there is a line, right? 51% versus 49, right? There is a line. So it does have to be one way or the other to some degree. But as we both agree that this is a problem, and it does exist on both sides. And at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like anyone's ever held accountable. And I posted something that was saying, if this was, and it's same points made on both sides. If this was a Republican who was out there protesting mask mandates and lockdowns and COVID vaccine mandates, right? That would you see this differently? And I'd like to believe that anybody who's honest would go, yes, if people that would say that wasn't okay would have likely argued that was, if it was the other way around, because they feel like that makes more sense, or they put more weight on the idea of, which we should get into, this guy was in chat groups and he was here, let's actually talk about that. I'll let you respond to what I was saying. And then, the idea that they're framing this as sort of like people who are coordinated in pushing back, which we know is abused, right? We've talked about this a lot, are suddenly by default now dishonest, not trustworthy, shouldn't be listened to. And I think that's a problem, because there is a part of it. We are coordinated in what we do. Does that make us, we could have shadowy funding, but it should matter that you can prove that. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead. I know. By the way, there is a delay and we're trying to let each other not go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah. Well, the hypocrisy component of this frustrated me so much that I wound up writing my third book about it, called Hypocrisy: Surviving in a World of Cultural Double Standards. And that's the thing. It's when you've got a double standard, it makes people insane, right? It's like, just be consistent across your belief system if that's possible. But that is almost impossible to expect the average person out there to do. They just get so emotional, and they can't see a couple steps ahead to understand that the authoritarianism that you're cheerleading right now for your guy will eventually be used by the other guy against your team. So don't do that, because ultimately in the end, you're just giving more weapons to these people, the state, and they will use them against you. And if you think that your side will protect you, maybe you haven't been paying attention long enough. Maybe you're new, you're just waking up. Maybe COVID woke you up and you're still trying to figure it out. But you have to understand that both sides hate your guts and want you dead. And when you start from that premise, then you go, oh, I understand. These people aren't here to save me or help me. I just happen to want, like, the best case scenario for the American people is that your desires and your politicians' desires just magically happen to line up, because you're not going to get what you want anyway. You're going to get what he wants. And the only way you're going to benefit is if it just coincides that you have the same interests.
Next is this clip from Steve Poikonen and Garland Nixon.
Well, Steve, you can fool all of the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, and most of the people most of the time. And then there's the crazy conspiracy theorists that just suspect everything that's done is wrong. So anyway, let's go with the last one. By the way, before we get going, tell everybody where they can find you online, Steve Poikonen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can find AM Wake Up on Rumble and Odyssey and BitChute and Substack. And for some reason, I'm still holding on to a Twitter account, although they hardly let anyone see it. So if you'd like, you can follow me there at Slow News Day Show. And yeah, it's good to be back. Good to see you again, Garland. This is always a good time.
You want up? Speaking of that, I'm on Upscrolled, this new social media platform that everybody's on, and there's an avalanche of people heading for Upscroll. So I'm there. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Looks good so far, but you never know what's going to happen. But I'm going to enjoy it while I can. It's fun. There's an avalanche of people. Everybody's going to Upscroll. The expectations are high, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to jump on the Upscroll wagon and see how things turn out.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it.
I mean, let's face it. This business about the people who believed, let's see, Elon Musk bought Twitter so that he could give us free speech. And Elon Musk went to the government with this Doge thing because he wanted to save us money. The people who thought that the richest guy in the world was on their side. I mean, I don't know about you, Steve. I was never fooled. Oh, by the way, how'd that work out for me? When Biden was there, I got thrown off Twitter. And then I think I was let back on Twitter just so I could get thrown off again, because Musk was like this. Well, damn it, I didn't get any fun throwing that bastard off. You had all the fun throwing him off. I'm letting him back on. Why? So I can throw him off, because that's all the fun.
Well, and it, when what was it? Parag threw you off there the first time, he forgot to steal from you. Elon had the wherewithal to be like, hang on, I'm going to collect some money first, get it locked into a permanent pay system, and then once I'm good for robbing him for around $100 a year or whatever, then we'll throw him off.
Got to get that credit card number first. That's where he made a mistake. He's like, come on, man. You threw Garland off without getting his credit card number, his bank account number. You people don't know how it's done. Right.
Sit down, dork. Watch me work.
Exactly. Hold my beer. Let me show you what a real grift looks like. All right. Speaking of what a real grift looks like, TPUSA. I know you've been following that. Totally and completely above board organization that's there for the good of the order, to help godly Christian-y people make heaven crowded again. Your thoughts? TPUSA.
I really can't believe they named the tour that. I really can't. It's when you're so deep into the grift, you just all you see is success and dollar signs and things of that nature, and you have no tether to reality. And I think that's what we saw with TPUSA in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Like he may have been the one thing keeping that organization tethered enough to reality that they could maintain and expand and become what they were up until about 3-4 months ago, which is the largest and continuously growing conservative Christian youth organization on the planet. Not just in the USA, Garland, but in the United Kingdom and South Korea. They were expanding operations everywhere. And yeah, the lack of common sense by the people at this completely fake Christian grift factory to name the tour Make Heaven Crowded. It is just, I can't wrap my head around being that out of touch, man. How about you?
Well, there's a limited amount of space in heaven. You know what I mean? I mean, you only got a certain amount of. I think they charge you by the square foot, kind of like a commercial real estate. And when you get there, there's limited amount, and they're like, well, there's a lot of room in heaven, but here's the plan: they're going to make it crowded, and then BlackRock is going to come in and start buying up space and rent it out. So I think, and we know it's real because listen to this. Let's see, because CEO Erica Kirk will be one of the, so they're going to be featuring Erica Kirk. They're going to visit 30 cities. The Make Heaven Crowded tour is a gospel-centered gathering calling people to repentance, faith, and bold obedience to Zion. I mean, Jesus. A TPSA faith description for the tour. Join us for a powerful night of worship, preaching, and I don't see bootlicking in there, but I imagine Bibi Netanyahu's shoes will be passed around like a collection plate for people to just hear. And they're going to flavor it too. They'll have like cinnamon flavored shoes, boots to lick, maybe, I don't know. I kind of like, maybe I'm going with a strawberry vanilla.
I just want to point out to the people who are watching the video version of this that on the in the article that Garland showed, or the press release that Garland showed, it mentioned a guy named Pastor Greg Lowry, who was caught up for years in a child sex trafficking scandal and allegations and rumors for the exact same Romanian-based charity group that Erica Kirk was allegedly partnered with the Romanian Angels thing.
Pure coincidence.
Greg Lowry has been in some hot water. Yeah.
There we go.
Shelter he ran in
Greg
Bucharest.
Lowry, a well-known evangelist, right? Saying they failed to prevent abuse. So they were in it. So lawsuits accused that. So wait a minute. So they were involved in Bucharest, which is, where's Bucharest? Is that Romania?
Romania, yeah.
So isn't that weird that people who were involved in miscreant activity were involving child sex stuff in Romania are now involved with Erica Kirk, who had a child orphan, like kids who don't have parents who would check up on them when they were possibly dragged into an abusive situation as sex slaves. I think we found a connection.
Yeah. all in Charlie's good name, though, Garland. That's the other part to it. Now, people can think what they want to about Charlie Kirk. Everybody's probably a little bit right. You know what I mean? I don't think everyone's completely right, but I think everyone's probably a little bit right, regardless of what their opinion about the dude is. I'm not here to say this one way or another. I didn't know the guy or anything. So, but it does appear that outwardly he was, if you could call anybody within that organization a decent person, it was at least outwardly that guy. And in the wake of it, it is just, instantly with the WWE and Nicki Minaj and, the very, very, very close hugs with JD Vance and dressing like his favorite couch right when she hugged him. And, it's been one bad turn after another. And then all the stuff about America's Widow started coming out, where it seemed like every time in the last year or so that she's been on camera and opened her mouth, she's been lying through her teeth. And that's continued to happen. And now we have this leaked audio from a Turning Point Zoom meeting 11 days after she, lost her husband, and what we assumed was, or what she's told us was, the love of her life, and all of this other stuff. And she sounds downright giddy throughout the entire couple of minutes here, going over stuff on the call. I was gonna say I can.
Oh, you got it?
Well, I can share screen for the audio. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right.
Let's take a listen.
Hi, everybody. I still love all these emoji Zoom things. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like, it's just insane. We had over 275,000 people that attended.
Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment, Garland, because when she's giggling through, I can't believe we pulled off the event of the century, I confess that what immediately popped into my head was not the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
No.
In
You're
fact,
right.
it seemed...
Exactly. The event of the century was the thing that precipitated the Charlie Kirk Memorial. You know what's interesting? And I got to throw this in. As you know, my background in law enforcement and investigations, I used to teach that stuff, and I took some courses in statement analysis, right? You would think that a wife would be more specific, right? Yes, my husband's memorial, my this or that. She refers to this almost generically, an event, an event. Like she's emotionally distancing herself. When someone says, it's like the woman killed her wife, and she's like, when I stepped over the body. Normally, the woman say, I stepped over John. He was lying there. I came in and I saw him, and I stepped over John, and I did this. She says, and I stepped over the body. You're like, uh-oh. When people emotionally distance themselves. So she refers to it as an event, or the event, with like, she's distancing completely emotionally and rhetorically distancing herself to the very specific thing that would make that an emotional event. And then there's no darn, oh yeah, I was cried all day as it was coming up, and then afterwards I cried some more. No, it's just, that is here's what we get. This is something she was damn happy about. Anyway, continue.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, she seems overjoyed, and it's gross. It's good. I don't know how else to describe it.
And the stadium, overflow, Westgate, insane, you guys. And then you have, was it 100 million? You guys that heard the gospel and all about Charlie and all about everything that you guys do, and the hard work of Turning Point USA is insane. We had thousands that were registered to vote. I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that, because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the events team, the development team, the graphic design team, the production team. It's just phenomenal.
Assassination team.
Right. Big ups to the hit squad. Yeah, I just
did I leave anybody out? Oh yeah, there was Ahmed. He was the leader of the Egyptian observation team.
Now we take a look at this clip from the Indie News Network.
Who are these people?
So now we're going to talk about censorship. And there's been a lot of censorship ramping up, and it's been cross-platform. It's not happening just in one place, but it seems that it's happening everywhere all at once, which isn't really a surprise, because that's kind of how this works. So, what am I talking about? Well, Kevork Almassian, who is an independent creator, claims Al Jazeera is abusing copyright law to silence criticism. After he aired a brief clip, which again was under a minute, for a recent interview with Hamas's Khalid Mashal and criticized him as a hypocrite, Al Jazeera filed a copyright strike against his channel, Syriana Analysis. Now, what's funny is, again, let me finish his thing here. The clip was used strictly for commentary, criticism, and analysis, which falls squarely under fair use. Sounds familiar. Nevertheless, I immediately removed the clip from my 1-hour live stream, and that still wasn't enough. Al Jazeera still escalated and demanded the entire stream be taken down, despite the copyrighted material no longer being present. Using copyright claims to suppress political speech is a well-documented form of copyright abuse and a direct violation of the spirit and letter of fair use protections. On top of all of that, all right, he gets a strike to his channel. Sometimes he can't stream for a week. And if he gets multiple, a third one, they can take away his channel permanently. Right. So this literally happened to INN 2 summers ago. Al Jazeera, we used less than a minute of footage to show that a bombing, the difference between the bombing of a school in Ukraine and the bombing of a school in Gaza. And that bombing of a school in Gaza was Al Jazeera footage. It wasn't even critical of Al Jazeera. And it had the Al Jazeera logo the whole time it was up. And still, they copyright struck it, not just asked to have it taken down, but also even the clip that had never even been published yet, that was in our studio as a draft, we got struck for a second strike. That was 2 weeks without streaming. And if you got one more strike, you could lose your channel permanently. And we were freaking out for 90 days. We tried to get Al Jazeera to intervene. They didn't. We couldn't get anybody to respond. We just had to wait out the 90 days. The strikes came off, and we went forward and never used Al Jazeera again. All right. So, number one, Al Jazeera is using it, but that's also an abuse of YouTube's copyright system. And YouTube is allowing for that. But Kevork wasn't the only one that's been targeted for his speech on YouTube. We talked about David Rovix a couple of weeks ago, that YouTube had taken down his channel. Now they have permanently wiped out his channel. Discography's wiped and channels deleted. He says if there's anyone out there interested in civil liberties, now might be a good time to help me sue YouTube for the sake of society at large. Yes, David Rovix, by the way, is an entertainer. He's a musician. He says the title uses the plural because I assume I'm not the only artist that this is happening to. But I have yet to hear of others aside from R. Kelly, who was actually convicted of running a criminal organization with lots of actual victims who testified in court. I know channel deletions have happened to a number of journalists, among many other people, who, like me, were not running or otherwise engaged with any criminal organizations. These removals are as outrageous as mine, but not quite the same thing. And there is the email from YouTube that says that it confirms that it violates the criminal organization's policy. We won't be putting your channel back up. What happens when an artist becomes possibly the first artist to have all their albums wiped from YouTube Music and then the YouTube channel they've had for 20 years deleted, all because their music allegedly was supportive of unnamed criminal organizations? As far as I can tell, basically nothing. Again, David Rovix, this is a Substack article. So for those on Substack, davidrovix.substack.com. ROVICS. Lots of expressions of sympathy, lots of completely bizarre advice, lots of comments from people who clearly have no understanding of the nature of the digital world we all live in these days, and no interest whatsoever from the mainstream media from anywhere in the world. Again, no surprise, because they don't want to end up like that. There are, of course, many other very pressing things to cover, What with the masked thugs killing people on the streets of the U.S. cities every day, Trump invading or threatening to invade everywhere, and so much more, and we've got that too. But I'll just say here, for whoever might be listening, and we are, the canary in this coal mine of artistic free expression just died. And I believe that any people or organizations concerned with the erosion of civil liberties in this world should be very interested in what YouTube just did. One of the more maddening aspects of the experience has been the realization that a tremendous number of people, especially people over the age of 40 or so, don't really seem to understand why having one's music wiped from YouTube Music or their YouTube channel deleted is a big deal. The suggestions people helpfully offer tend to confirm this. The most common one involves recommendations of other platforms that host videos. All right? The concerns people also express reflect this. The most common one is around the assumption that I must have lost a lot of content that I had stored there and nowhere else. I wonder if Orson Welles was blacklisted from working, when he was blacklisted from working in Hollywood, people offered him the use of their sheds to store his film reels, as if being blacklisted was somehow a storage issue. It's good to be positive and look for alternatives, but this stuff can get pretty weird. I get the impression that people over 40 aren't really aware that so much of what they see, read, and watch is controlled by corporate algorithms. What people once thought they understood about the various platforms has long ago stopped being true. When you're scrolling on any one of the major platforms, very much including YouTube, you're seeing what the corporate algorithms want you to see, that they think will keep your eyes glued to the screen. You're not seeing whatever your friends posted most recently. That stopped being the case over a decade ago on the platforms most of these folks are using, like Facebook. These algorithms are such a curse to us all in so many ways. They distort how we perceive reality and seem to be turning us into all into assholes. They're also crucial to the lives and livelihoods of musicians and other content creators, whether we like it or hate it. I'm not famous like Kneecap or Bob Villain or Roger Waters, and my disappearance from the internet will not likely apparently garner the kind of media attention that attacks on them have generated. But after 20 years on YouTube, a certain handful of videos of me singing a certain handful of songs have managed to get hundreds of thousands of views. Once a video gets views in that sort of number, it tends to get put into the recommendation algorithms. That means that when someone's into Irish rebel music and they're listening to Clancy Brothers or the Irish Brigade, there's a good chance my song, the St. Patrick Battalion, will eventually come up in YouTube's recommendation algorithm, unless they take it down. These algorithms are how so many people today discover new music, new videos, the next thing to watch or read or listen to, or on whatever platform or device. And if you're looking for a video, not only are these algorithms going to determine most of what you're probably going to end up watching, but the place you're going to do that is likely going to either be YouTube or TikTok. Maybe not today, and we're going to talk about TikTok in a minute. If you're looking for music, the platform you're most likely going to be doing that on is Spotify, or secondarily, YouTube Music. If you're looking for an event of some kind, the first place many people are likely to search is on the events tab on Facebook. God, why? If you need a ride and you're not sure where to find one, then the first place you're likely to look is on the Uber app on your phone. These corporations have all succeeded in becoming functionally monopolies. The music is on Spotify, the videos are on YouTube. These platforms are places where millions of people basically live. If music or videos, listeners or viewers might like are not coming up, they don't exist. So many people don't go to websites and intentionally do things like look for an artist that's never come up for them on the platforms they use, just like so many people don't bother looking beyond Amazon for a product they might be looking to buy. Bandcamp also exists, but notice he's not mentioning them. He's mentioning Spotify, which has spent hundreds of billions of dollars in marketing to get you to know their name. Like he says, alternatives exist, but most people are watching videos on YouTube and listening to music on Spotify. This, by the way, is Reef's argument, is you can find alternative platforms. That's great, but this is where the people are. Same thing with Facebook. 3.4 billion users. Half the fucking planet uses Facebook. Those are the platforms on which they're creating and sharing playlists. The platforms serve the online function of being like the collective living room, the place where people gather, just as Facebook and Instagram are so often the places people feel very dependent on for keeping up with what's happening with friends and family and even local physical communities. A lot of news makes it into that news feed, doesn't it? So, in case it's not abundantly obvious where this is all leading up to, having your YouTube channel deleted is a form of a disappearance. It's akin to blacklisting, book burning. What's all the more outrageous is the blanket nature of the action. It's not a complaint about a specific piece of art, but about the existence of the artist online. Some of the impact is measured numerically. Many thousands of songs that would otherwise have come up as the next track for people exploring YouTube or YouTube Music each month will no longer come up. Many thousands of people each month who would have discovered my music for the first time will no longer do so. Not on YouTube or YouTube Music, which again is YouTube's music streaming platform. I'm not allowed to start a new channel without thoroughly disguising my identity, but even if I could do that, it wouldn't get my music back into the recommendation algorithms anytime soon. Other people are still able to put up videos of me, but other people putting up videos of me doesn't help people see where my next show is. One or the main ways that people find out if an artist they like is coming to their area is through a tab on YouTube that viewers can see if the artist they're listening to that has that going on, which the vast majority of serious working artists alive today. The existence of this tab, however, requires that the artist first has a channel. Being that Facebook is also a monopoly in the same way that YouTube is, it's notable that David is prevented from using the invite feature on events. Being able to invite people to events is the most useful thing anyone can do on Facebook, and this feature is permanently disabled for him. How convenient, as far as he can tell. This is also a very real and damaging form of blacklisting. If an artist is blacklisted, but the media never really paid attention to them in the first place, were they really blacklisted? The thing that has been different about the internet, and even walled garden corporate platforms like YouTube or Spotify, is that artists who had no success with corporate radio airplay or appearing on TV shows or in movies could now put their stuff out there on platforms where the existence of their audience engaging with their content on these platforms could propel their art or music further. So more people could hear it because of the dominance of recommendation algorithms. Despite never getting corporate airplay or promotion or putting out fancy corporate sponsored music videos, doing music that would just never be touched with a long pole by corporate labels in the first place, David had gotten to the point on YouTube, just as with Spotify, where his songs were altogether being streamed 1 million times in a given year. That's a lot. While really famous artists are getting million streams a day, no doubt, the disappearance of an artist like David and the loss of those million streams to the public consciousness should be very worrying to people other than David. It is to me. I don't want anyone to ask David. He doesn't want anyone to ask him what he's going to do next. This is akin to asking the canary what should be done about the coal mine. I want to hear about what other people and organizations like the ACLU and the EFF and others are going to do next. Are they going to stand up and defend him like they did to Guy Christensen? By the way, this is some of the places that David will be playing live coming up. If you're in the area, please go support his live music. DavidRovics.com. Go to his website /tour. You can find out the dates.
Now we take a look at this clip from Hrvoje, Moric, and Mark Goodwin.
You are listening to Geopolitics and Empire. Support the Renegade transmission. As always, geopoliticsandempire.com. The Substack, become a paid subscriber, unless you're based in Australia or the United Kingdom, Airstrip 1, where they are now asking for your biometrics. Joining us for the first time, finally, is Mark Goodwin, former editor-in-chief of Bitcoin Magazine, author of the Bitcoin Dollar and Economic Monomyth, founder, or dare I say co-founder of the brand spanking new, the Papercut publishing house. Buenas tardes, señor Mark.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. As we were saying off air, first time caller, long time listener, and I love your feed. I love all the guests. I mean, I really do. I try not to check out too many podcasts, but I do find myself checking out a lot of stuff from your feed. And I mean, Brett Johnson was amazing, and it's lots of great stuff. So I'm super excited to be here.
All right, very cool. And you are like one of my, we'll get into this, you're like one of my go-to guys on the topic we're going to treat, because I haven't really heard anyone else explain it to the doctorate level as you have. Brent has, but he's kind of coming after you, but he doesn't really get into it as much at the technocratic and globalist angle as you two. But just real quick, for anyone who hasn't heard of Mark Goodwin, the quick synopsis, what would you tell them, who your work and experience up till now?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was I went to school for music and was playing in this group and was based in Massachusetts. Then we ended up in San Francisco, kind of toured across the country and stayed there. Like most musicians, wasn't necessarily making a ton of money living in one of the most expensive cities in the world. So, I got a job, believe it or not. And I was working just as like a bar back at this nice cocktail bar. And a guy ended up coming in who was there quite often, a pretty regular guy there, which should have raised some alarms, but perhaps we didn't notice. But anyway, this very, very nice guy came in one day and was like, hey, I just bought, this was in like 2014. It's like, hey, I just bought a Tesla with Bitcoins. And back when Teslas were like rare, and I was like, what is that? What's Bitcoin? What is this? And he drove me around the block and kind of told me a little bit about Bitcoin, telling me, about how it's this medium of exchange. You can use it online. It's anonymous, and you can, do all this fun stuff with it online. Then we, a couple weeks later, maybe the timeline's a little warped there, but we see in the New York Times that this guy, Blake Benthall, was actually the co-founder of Silk Road 2.0. Right when Ross got arrested, it like basically immediately came back online, and it was this gentleman. I say gentleman because he was always very nice to me. He obviously got arrested, and, former SpaceX employee and yada, yada. And, was like, oh, that's why he was doing all this Bitcoin stuff, and he was using it as this medium of exchange. And so I, got interested in it and, kind of used it a little bit pretty early on, but I literally had no idea that it was something that could change in value. I thought it was just literally like a transport mechanism for online stuff, or, you want to buy drugs online, basically. Like that's what you use this thing for. And, it wasn't actually until the beginning of 2017 that I saw like a headline that, it had broke, $1,000. It was going up again. And I was like, it can go up? Like what? And then, that whole year I basically spent, buying it and learning about it, and was still working at the bar. At this point, I was now bartending. Then there's a huge explosion. It was the first, really big rise. It went up to just about $20,000 at the end of 2017. And then, of course, it crashed pretty epically for the next like year and a half. And so in that next year and a half, I was like, I tried to learn as much about it as possible, and was sort of doing that going into 2020, and just kept learning. I mean, there's so much to learn about it. It's sort of this endless technological stuff, monetary stuff, all of this insanity there. And then COVID happened and lockdowns happened and, insane monetary stimulus happened. And, I basically went around, in that March 2020 when all the markets, just everything pooped, gold pooped, oil went negative, Bitcoin went to like, $3,000, and, pretty much called all my loved ones and was like, hey, you should probably look into this thing. They're going to print a ton of money, and, they're locking everything down. They're crushing demand. There's going to be, a reckoning to deal with, what are the economic implications here. At the time, I had no idea about going direct reset and all these things that we now know. And of course, was in the fog of war of what the hell is going on, as we all were. And I think, frankly, we all still are. And we'll get into a lot of that now. I really think now we're in like the other eye of the storm right now, with metals going crazy and just everything being, so uncertain. And because I had basically told a lot of people, hey, I think you should probably get a little bit of this, especially if you're getting stimulus and what have you. I think you should, seriously look into Bitcoin. Then I was like, okay, well, I just recommended it to people. I should probably, formulate some of my thinkings as to why, and try to put it into something that I can hand people. And so I put together basically like a 101, just like hour and a half kind of like little talk, and, did it for some friends, and just sort of wrote stuff. And one of the things I wrote in that process of just, making sure if I'm going to tell people maybe they should look into this, I should be really damn sure. And one of the things I wrote was the birth of the Bitcoin dollar, and was kind of this idea that, maybe March 2020, oil goes negative, everything goes down. And then, in the next 12 months, Bitcoin 20x's and goes to, almost $70,000. That maybe that was really the death of the petrodollar system. We leave Afghanistan, and, we're moving to this new energy based, kind of currency system. And, how stable coins play that role, as the petrodollars used to, and Bitcoin basically plays the role of oil in this new setup. And so I wrote that piece, and, I sent it into Bitcoin Magazine because I had some friends in the city that worked there, and they were like, hey, this is really good. And they pulled me in and asked me to write for them. And then, so I really don't have a background in journalism or anything like that. It was really just this freak guy comes in, I'm working at a bar, tells me about Bitcoin. 7 years later or whatever, I'm a writer at Bitcoin Magazine, ended up becoming editor-in-chief, turned that piece into the Bitcoin dollar book. And then I really extrapolated a lot with Unlimited Hangouts, Whitney Webb. We wrote this series called The Chain that really the book is really this broad stroke. Let's just look at the generals of what's going on here. There's really not a lot of naming of names. I say like Tether and USDC, but I don't say, who are the people, where did this come from? Where did Tether come from, and yada, yada. It's this broad stroke thing. The Chain is really this big investigative look at it. And then I ended up leaving Bitcoin Magazine, for some differences, and just wanted to kind of focus on investigative journalism because I, obviously was very lucky to start working with one of the best ever, with Whitney Webb. And, I had an opportunity to go to Unlimited Hangout and work there. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years. And, I'm not sure how quick of a synopsis that was, but that basically sums it up right there for you.
And I'll add, back in 2021, when I was remaking my website, which was just a simple blog since 2015, I actually, in terms of design, I used Unlimited Hangout as one of my sort of models for the current Geopolitics and Empire website. So you might notice some theme similarities. And just real quick, maybe before continuing, your latest adventure is, if you want to tell us about Papercut Publishing, the first book is going to be Ian Davis. I read the book. He sent it to me. Amazing. He's been on the podcast. It seems like it's not out yet, is it? So tell us about Papercut.
Yeah, totally. So I had written that piece for Bitcoin Magazine. I wrote a few pieces for them just as a writer, and then they asked me to come on full time to help them with the print magazine that they were starting, because they were, they initially started, ironically, it was Vitalik Buterin, who's now much more known for Ethereum, was a very early Bitcoin Magazine writer. And they had done a print magazine, very early on. And they wanted to bring it back, which they did. And they asked me to come in and basically be kind of the creative lead and editor of the print magazine before I became editor in chief of the whole group. And I worked with this amazing team with Joe Rogers and my friend Annabelle, who goes by Baza, who's this amazing designer, and she did all the layout and everything for Bitcoin Magazine, the physical edition. And she ended up leaving the company as well later after I did, and sort of a free agent. And Whitney and I were talking a lot about like, man, it's pretty difficult to to be publishing all this stuff and using these social networks as the main means of distribution, which we know have a lot of to say the least, just issues. Are these all DARPA programs? Who are running these things? Is it all getting fed into AI? Yada yada. Whatever level of paranoia you want to get to at the end of the day, do we really want to lead everybody into having to go to these platforms to access our content? And one of the things we talked about was getting into physical media, as some of the few people that still do long form journalism, well, hey, why don't we have this amazing talented artist who does layouts, who's looking for work, and why don't we put together a publishing house? We have, this great opportunity to take a lot of the work we've already done and new work we're planning on doing and turning it into, physical medium, so people can read without having to be on Twitter or whatever. It's not to say Twitter is not, still important and useful and yada yada. It's how we met, basically. There's obviously plenty of good things there too, but let's build for a more resilient future if the internet is going to continually become less and less free. So we started Papercut Publishing House, at the start of this year, really the end of last year. And very, very excited about it. We got a lot of really cool things in the pipeline. We will be doing a print magazine as well. But our first, sort of rodeo is The Technocratic Dark State by Ian Davis. And I just love Ian's work so much. He's written a ton of amazing stuff with Whitney at UH, and a ton of amazing stuff on his own and with other people. And what I love so much about the book is I'm so honored to publish it, because I think it's probably the best way to catch up on everything that's going on, every facet of the incoming, panopticon technocratic dystopia that is slowly encroaching, and maybe not so slowly encroaching. And he just does such a good job of breaking it down in a way that's very accessible. Sometimes I read my work and I'm like, okay, did I need 3 paragraphs about every board member of this? But when I read his work, it's incredibly detailed, but it's super easy to read. It's very accessible. You get the points. And I think it's really important that we have, totems like that just, here you go. You want to get caught up? Here you go. And so, we've been doing a pre-order. And it's done basically. The book is being printed now. It'll be shipped out in the next couple of weeks, so people will start to receive it, which is very exciting. So, but yeah, in general, just super stoked about Papercut. I think it's going to be really fun to do a magazine again. And we got a couple book ideas in the works that are coming. The Chain series will be a book as well. And just, it's just fun to be able to make something, and, hold it and see it and flip through it. So, super stoked that Ian decided to work with us on that, and really excited to get it in people's hands.
I look forward to it, but I think it won't be smooth sailing for you. And I give you an example. The other day, I'm a fan of his, Dr. Martin Erdmann. He's a German theologian in Europe. 3 days before he was scheduled to come on the podcast last year, he had his second heart attack, but he's okay now. And he's friendly with Patrick Wood, and he just published, and he touches on overlaps on some of the themes we discuss. And he just published a new book on mercantilism, which is what Trump's policy is now. And, he's been talking about this for a few years. So he's also on the cutting edge. And he wanted to send me the physical, buy it for me on Amazon and send it to me in Mexico. But guess what? The technocracy said, no, this is insane. So the Mexican government has forced all platforms to demand identification from the purchaser. And I know that's the case for me living in Mexico, but I was shocked. This was the first time someone outside in Europe, he put in the order on Amazon for his own book. And then it asked him, because the destination was Mexico, for an ID. The ID he inputted was not accepted, and the book couldn't be sent to me. So this is, it's just wild what governments are doing. And, this is just an example of the stuff that we're going to see going forward. And before getting,
That's super crazy to me. I mean, that's it. It's not necessarily an original thought, but this idea that, they don't really need to burn books or like ban books. They can just go to the choke points and, distribution and printing and, it's not just at the algorithmic level of, what poster you're seeing or whatever. It's like, well, they're actually preventing physical, it's not digital algorithms preventing you. They're preventing the ship coming into the port and dropping it off at your house, and that's, it's a lot more dangerous because, when you see like, oh, they're burning a book or they banned a book, I mean, it's a lot easier to get riled up and, okay, well, let's find a way to circumnavigate it. But when you kind of the slow encroaching boiling of the frogs and, that's a very disturbing precedent. And that's why we need independent publishers that are like, no, we'll send you a book. We don't care. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get some pushback at some point along the line. I mean, that's pretty inevitable that we will. But that's very disturbing.
You can just have the cartel, the cartels deal with avocado trafficking and limes and, human. And now they'll add with book trafficking, through the coyotes. They'll be trafficking, paper cut publishing. So
if anyone out there is into trafficking and needs a job, let me know. I got some. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't.
So before getting to the whole Bretton Woods 3.0, as I call it, chain, real quick. So Bitcoin, I know you've touched on this. It's my firm belief that this was created by them, Bitcoin, and it is what it is. This is the new system. They created it. And it's just thoughts on Bitcoin and how, after all these years, you would explain, just, not to go long, just briefly, Bitcoin, for me, it just seems like it was gold and then it's a dollar. And now it's just like this third iteration to kick the can down the road for the dollar, but also to bring about this entire, that's, a key component of the many key components. You get digital ID, you have digital passports, on and on and on. But Bitcoin is the, financial aspect of this, because if you have Bitcoin, then you're going to need like a ledger, you're going to need a blockchain, you're going to need this and tokenization and that. And so I've said for the longest time, this was kind of like the, what do you call it? The entree, like the bridge towards, because you got it whet a lot of people's appetites. People got wealthy and like, wow, this is amazing. And then before you can figure stuff out, they're already on to step 2 and 3 with CBDCs and blockchains. And so your thoughts on Bitcoin and then how you classify the space. I see it. The big ones seem to be Bitcoin. It seems to be the one. And then second tier is like Ethereum, XRP maybe. And then the alt and poop coins, as they call it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. So to your point of the made by them, Bitcoin being made by them, I absolutely think so. I mean, I don't have any proof. There is no direct proof. I don't think there ever will be. It's too good of a story. The mythos of this anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto that just, so conveniently at the peak of the 2008 financial crisis, just anonymously releases a white paper on Halloween of 2008, and the network launches in January 2009, like right when, that's really when shit hit the fan in regards to the ballooning debt Obviously we look at, in 71, the gold window shuttering and Nixon, saying, no, you can't redeem your notes for gold. That was, that transition led to a really high inflationary, that the 70s were pretty highly inflationary because we went off this peg. Gold, it's not really thought of that much, but it is an energy currency. It takes a lot of energy to get it out of the ground. Same with silver, the bimetal standard. You want your monetary system to be based on something that's hard to source. Not to just get too much into economics, but just, broad brush, like you want an energy based commodity to be, kind of the main monetary system so that it's not, like just, we'll just control P and debase the currency at will. It's really hard to go get gold out of the ground. There's a limited supply. There's a limited rate of inflation of how much gold can come out of the ground, in a year, 3 to 4%. And that limits growth. Obviously, in a good way, it limits debasement, but also it, theoretically limits growth of an economy. And so the U.S. was sort of, doing some fiat games and was already kind of getting into fractional gold backing of the dollar kind of well before 71. And 71 was really just the U.S. kind of admitting that, okay, trust is sort of lost, in the gold peg. And now we're just, hey, let's just sign a thing and just get it over with. But what did we see in the transition in the 70s and 80s? We saw a transition from this energy-based gold standard to the establishment of the petrodollar system, which was similar. That oil is, harder to get out of the ground. There's a limitation of how much can be produced in a year. It's costly. And the specific agreement that we made, of course, I'm sure a lot of your listeners know about this, but with Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East, we gave, military and political favors, basically to say, price oil in dollars. So when we print a bunch of money to, meet our budgets and do all the government spending that we do, you are basically forcing everybody that wants to industrialize and get with it, with this, big boom of computers and everything that happened basically in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You want to play in those games. Well, you better buy dollars first to be able to get access to the oil, coming out of these oil rich countries. So what it does was it created basically artificial demand for dollars. So now Saudi Arabia and the ilk have a bunch of dollars sitting around that, Russia and the Eurozone and, anybody in Asia and Europe basically wants to get oil. They have to go to Saudi Arabia, the Middle East. They have to buy dollars first. We have a buyer of dollars. Saudi Arabia has a bunch of dollars now. And then they do this thing called petrodollar recycling, where they send it back to the U.S. and invest back in U.S. treasuries and U.S. companies. And we find a buyer for our debt, and we find, for the treasuries that back the dollar, and we find, a new demand for the actual unit itself for the dollars. And that system worked, pretty damn well, honestly. Obviously, there were a few little interesting things that happened. And I only point them out because of the mirroring of what we saw in 2020 and since. But obviously, we saw in the 80s, Volcker came in and raised interest rates to double digits, which, you can kind of look at interest rates as, okay, we're having this highly inflationary period because we went off the gold standard. Now let's jack up rates to 10%. You want to hold U.S. treasuries because you're getting basically a risk-free yield of getting 10% on your money. So all of this, you just had Brent Johnson on, that was the real dollar milkshake was that let's go to 10%. Let's raise rates super fast. And everybody just wanted as much U.S. debt as possible because it was free, a free risk-free 10%. And obviously we saw a lot of currency, shenanigans go down in that era. That was sort of the rise of the currency speculator, as trade got, digitized and, was able to be, big trades were able to be done, very easily with wire and, eventually internet, but, phones. You got to see some pretty serious things go on with the, kind of the Soros-esque, currency speculators coming in. And that was really the merger of, the mob basically takes over the government and central banks. And, we start to see these crazy plays in foreign exchange speculation, and just these huge spikes, of the Mexican peso imploding right after NAFTA, and who's making all this money off that? Okay, it's Soros and Joe Lewis and et cetera. These guys that now are playing very large roles, Bessent being the Secretary of Treasury, Joe Lewis with his connections with Tether. But anyway, the digitalization of the petrodollar, basically brought us to 2000, to the 2000s. And then we see this big financial crisis of, we saw Larry Summers and friends, deregulate the derivatives industry at the whim of banks. And, let's let the banks run wild and let's let them kind of do whatever they want. Let's start packaging up, mortgages, and the housing market. We'll put it in these crazy little CDOs and CMOs, and we'll create this huge bubble and blow it up and have everybody lose their money and lose their homes and bail out the banks. But by bailing out the banks, we have to print a ton of money. And that had to be done at the Fed. So 2008 and 2007, that it's 2000, you can just kind of say the great financial crisis. People know what you're talking about, but, it was really 07, 08, 09. And that was really the start of when the printing was really, far outpacing, just GDP growth, and the idea that we could grow out of our debt. It's sort of impossible. Now it is just so unbelievably impossible. It's just mathematically impossible. We're literally paying more to service our debt than to service our military, which, that is a flag post, right? So
next is this clip from Greg Reese.
In the mind-wandering discovery by Killingsworth and Gilbert, over 250,000 data points showed that people were not focused on what they were doing for about 47% of their waking lives. And the less focus they had, the more unhappy they were. Decades of research show that nearly half of daily life consists of automatic behaviors executed without conscious decision-making. Unconscious, automatic brain activity precedes conscious awareness by about half a second, and in most cases will help keep you consciously oblivious to half of your waking life. There is a default setting that our nervous system goes into whenever we lose focus and wander. Scientific studies have identified it as the default mode network. This is what Buddhism calls ignorance, and Gurdjieff called waking sleep. Many spiritual traditions have diagnosed the human condition as one of chronic inattention, and have taught various practices to remedy this problem and help us wake up. But this chronic inattention is big business for authoritarian governments, which is why there has been so much invested into covertly programming the subconscious mind with media. If people are content to live half their life unaware of themselves, then a governing system will manage their lives for them as they see fit. The unconscious brains of billions are programmed to make predictable choices without ever activating conscious awareness and critical thought. And that's old-fashioned compared to the latest neural implant science. The claustrum is a thin, irregular sheet of neurons present in both hemispheres of the brain and has more biodirectional cortical connectivity than any other structure. It is believed to be the conductor of the orchestra that binds together all sensory streams into a unified conscious experience. In the Kobesi study of 2014, electrodes were placed between the left claustrum and the anterior insula of a patient who was conscious and performing tasks. When they turned the electrode on, the 14 Hz signal caused an immediate shutdown of conscious awareness. The patient had a blank stare and was unresponsive to commands, but continued to perform their automatic behaviors. Once the switch was turned off again, the patient experienced immediate recovery with no memory of the interruption. If consciousness can be switched off with a 14 Hz signal, and most people are already operating unconsciously half the time, the implications for autonomy are profound. Focused self-awareness brings more happiness and success, and for regular practitioners, much more. Meditation experts have significantly changed their own brain structure and are operating on levels unattainable to those with a wandering mind. But for the beginner, this higher consciousness is achieved with the simple practice of becoming fully aware of whatever you are doing at any given moment. This is expressed succinctly with the Zen proverb, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. A significant amount of the population is mostly running on autopilot and making decisions based on subconscious triggers. And there isn't much you can do about that. But if you truly want freedom, the default zombie mode of thinking must be overridden through regular daily practice. It doesn't cost anything, and you can start right now. Chop wood, carry water means whatever you are doing, do it with presence. Like Thich Nhat Hanh famously wrote, daily chores are not chores. They are opportunities to practice mindfulness and experience the miracle of life by being fully present. When everything we do is done with intention, only then can we claim to have agency over our own self. And without that agency, there will be an authoritarian state to administer it. Greg Reese reporting. The Reese Report is now fully funded by my Substack subscribers. Subscribe today and support my work at gregreese.substack.com.
Now, we have this clip from New World Next Week.
Welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I'm James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com. We're working with our data center partners to stabilize our service. We're sorry for this disruption and hope to resolve it soon. We have got that press release story, plus the gold and silver rush. But first, unusual Fed rate check triggered free fall in the U.S. dollar. Investors fleeing into gold. Now I see what you mean about the thing teasing the first story we're talking about, James. Grabbing this from Fortune, the U.S. dollar has been in relative free fall since late Friday. After it emerged, the New York Federal Reserve had conducted a rare rate check with currency traders on the dollar-Japanese yen exchange rate. Fortune understands that the check was conducted per request from the U.S. Treasury. The purpose of the move implies that the U.S. government may be considering coordinated action with the Bank of Japan to support the latter's currency. As a result, traders began selling the dollar, which is now down more than 2.26 over the past 5 days against a standard basket of international currencies, on an unusually steep decline given the gargantuan scale of the U.S. dollar in the global economy. Even as they were writing in Fortune over the last day alone, it lost 0.46%. The yen was up more than 3% against the dollar over the same time period. And then the Nikkei 225 stock fell 1.79%. That is a sign that traders feared equities exposed to Japan's export trade would be hurt by a rising yen. The price of gold, by the way, surged to a new record over 5,000 per troy ounce. I think it maybe broke its record again today as I come to you January 28th. That has added to the anti-dollar narrative on Wall Street. The dollar, as we have talked about for 17 years on New World Next Week, used to be a safe haven asset, but as the U.S. becomes more politically volatile, investors are going elsewhere. It used to be the case that any eruption of geopolitical tension tended to rally the world around the U.S. dollar. That's because the U.S., despite its role as guarantor of the old order and its obligation to join the fights, was seen as the safest and most accessible readout for haven for global flight capital. Money flying away. And because it had a history of being relatively unscathed territorially from the conflicts, as there, of course, would be a gun behind every blade of grass, from the conflicts it participated in or enjoined. This all according to Macquarie's Thierry Wisman. But what is happening now is different. Instead of flocking to the U.S. dollar, traders flock to gold and its neighbor on the periodic table, e.g. silver and platinum doing well as well, and defense stocks. and the U.S. dollar has little to show for its erstwhile vauntedness. We think this is because the implicit arrangements that have prevailed since World War II are unraveling, however slowly, he told clients seen in a note seen by Fortune at UBS. Paul Donovan was similarly downbeat the deterioration in the international standing of the U.S. and recent domestic events may be corroding some of the perceived supports of the dollar's reserve status. And from Zero Hedge in related news, James, the gold move is a vote of no confidence in the entire global financial architecture. I mean, gold and silver, I think, broke their own records, not only again this week, but I believe again today as well. James.
Yes, gold and silver have been going bonkers. So if people want more on this story, there is an interesting link in that Fortune story that we're linking here to an ing.com post about FX Daily suspected USD JPY intervention adds to weak dollar moment that explains that Fed rate check thing. What is that about? And apparently the Fed was going around last week asking banks in New York about their position sizes in USD JPY. And the significance of that is that it seems to portend a coordinated joint intervention between the US and Japan to prop up the yen against the dollar. And why would they want to do that? Well, there's a lot of information in this article about that. But, you know, one of the reasons is it doesn't make, it weakens Trump's tariff wars if the JPY is, if the yen is falling against the dollar, because ultimately that actually advantages exporters here in Japan. Anyway, there's a lot of rigmarole going on, but long story short, yeah, the international monetary order is falling apart as all of the other parts of the international order are starting to fall apart. And we're starting to see that the cracks of that. And one of them is the Japanese government bonds sell-off that happened recently and how that's affecting U.S. treasuries and what that does to the USD JPY link and how that affects other U.S. dollar positions against the euro, against the Swiss franc, etc. There's a lot going on there that people can explore and unpack to their heart's content. But yes, long story short, gold and silver going absolutely bonkers. And one interesting prediction that's coming out of all of this, I'll take this from USA Watchdog, which is reporting on failure to deliver gold and silver calamity coming, according to Bill Holter, which is a prediction about paper exchanges not being able to deliver physical metal based on the fact that there are over 40 million ounces standing for delivery in January, which is a non-delivery month. Usually you have 1 or 2 million ounces outstanding in January. Now there's over 40 million ounces that are waiting to be delivered. March is a delivery month. And so Bill Holter is saying if you got 70 or 80 million ounces of silver standing for delivery at the beginning of the month, that would be enough to knock out the inventory in March, which is a primary delivery month for COMEX. Long story short, we might be seeing a big physical run on gold and or silver. But keep in mind that Bill Holter is also known as Mr. Gold, and he is literally a gold broker. So, you know, you always have to balance what you're hearing about these things with who's actually literally stands to make profit off of these types of things. So that being said, this is obviously an important thing. I think I would like to address this in an upcoming Solutions Watch about ways people can be at least safeguarding their future and their nest eggs. But I would prefer to talk to someone who isn't literally a gold broker or someone who's directly profiting off of this. So if there are people out in the Corbett Report audience who know someone who is respectable, reliable, and not directly profiting from his own advice, I'd be interested to hear about it. Leave that in the comment section at CorbettReport.com. But yeah, suffice it to say, some major topsy-turvy things happening in gold and silver and in all other markets at the same time.
I love listening to the radio. Says guy that works on the radio. Yeah. Like, hey, I think my product is fantastic. You should get some. James, I was reporting recently on my Morning Monarchy how Bank of America has now changed its client advice about what you should invest in and what percentages you should hold in this, that, and the other thing. And they now advise clients to have 25% precious metals in their portfolio, which is kind of a big change from 0. They used to recommend 0 to 5%. And they've changed all. And again, that's a big sign about I think, again, the things that they maybe don't want to say out loud, but it says it out loud by their movements. Again, People run their mouths a lot. Watch for what the action is. That is our first story on this New World Next Week, episode 617. I was teasing the second story with my quote. I misunderstood what you meant, James. So again, we're just, working on the show live on air as we record it. Again, we've been doing this for 17 years. Not the biggest, flashiest production, but I believe you can get the proof out of our pudding. We've never steered you wrong. U.S. ownership of TikTok off to a rocky start as outages continued into the second day, grabbing this from theregister.com. And yes, everything we say and play always included down in the show notes. And I forgot completely about this, how fundamentally important this was to American national security. TikTok's new life under majority American ownership is off to a rough start after users complained of being used and complained of widespread service disruptions. The company blamed on a data center power outage. James, I've seen the different memes making a lot of the rounds as sticks of RAM cost $900 now because you guys need AI videos of cats working out in a gym. Users began reporting problems with TikTok's app and website on Sunday. Many then took to Reddit to complain that they couldn't post and were unable to access their feeds, which I never really thought, James, how ironic that is, that of course we're physically poisoned and starving from the food, but we'll go back all the time to get that dopamine and check our feeds. It is all in the language, James. Many took to Reddit to say they couldn't post and were unable to access their feeds. And when they could, they were finding garbage and unusual posts. I don't think that's a bug. Others posted that view counts were stuck at 0, suggesting something was definitely wrong. Days after a new majority American-owned joint venture was set up to operate parts of TikTok's U.S. business following months of wrangling to get it out of Chinese hands. Again, you would have thought this was the most important thing to the MAGAs. They've moved on to other things now. The TikTok USDS, U.S. Data Security joint venture, the entity backed by Trump ally Larry Ellison's Oracle. Have we not mentioned Larry Ellison on any New World Next Week the past 5 weeks, I believe? He seems like a rather important player on the landscape. Backed by Larry Ellison's Oracle and Paramount Sinai, private equity firm Silver Lake, which is named after a hipster LA neighborhood, and Emirati-backed investment firm MGX, which sounds like a pop star, with ByteDance. There's that name. ByteDance retaining a minority stake. They all took to X on Monday to explain the issues as resulting from a power outage at a U.S. data center. Again, nothing says your platform's great like saying it from the competition platform because yours isn't working. Since yesterday, we've been working to restore our services following a power outage at a U.S. data center impacting TikTok and other apps we operate. We're working with our data center partner to stabilize our service. We're sorry for the disruption and hope to resolve it soon. Users claim TikTok blocks Epstein mentions and anti-Trump videos, and I've seen it basically said this is the entire reason for the TikTok takeover, and that everything in the news seems to basically be a distraction from the Epstein files. That's coming from mainstream media. That is The Independent out of the UK. Users claim TikTok blocks Epstein mentions and anti-Trump videos. I wonder if the roles and parties were reversed, if they would be as quick to report on that. But of course, as you know, Orange Man is bad again. New TikTok owners declare no finish line for pro-Israel censor. Oh, so that's why Larry Ellison's involved in this. James, again, I'm not exaggerating. You would have thought this was the most fundamental part of national security 2 years ago.
My, how 2 years can change things, huh? And yes, again, you're exactly right. If the roles were reversed, and they were just a few years ago, of course, we saw these exact same outlets that are now outraged about this censorship were absolutely delighted in the censorship when it was under Biden and at the behest of Fauci, right? So it's really just switching hats and getting half of the population to go against the other half of the population. What else is new? But on another example of that, we have TikTok users say they can't upload anti-ICE videos. The company blames tech issues. So unfortunately, I think the big scheme of this is that they will unfortunately, be able to resolve their server issues, I am sure, and be able to deliver their slop more efficiently in the future. But, of course, it will be censored, right? That is the real part of this. So I hope people will go into that Cradle article, New TikTok Owners Declare No Finish Line for Pro-Israel Censorship, where you will find, yes, unsurprisingly, the Larry Ellison partly owned TikTok has anointed Adam Presser as their new CEO. Who is he? Oh, he is the guy who was talking to the World Jewish Congress last year about how the use of the word Zionist will be declared hate speech on TikTok unless you're using it as a proud Zionist and using it in a positive way. Then you can say the word Zionist. But if you say anything bad about it, then you are going to be censored. And he bragged that we tripled the amount of accounts that we are banning for hateful activity, adding that over 24 Jewish organizations are constantly feeding us intelligence and information when they spot violative trends. So I think, yeah, we know exactly where this is going and what this is about and why, yes, this was the biggest national security issue of the millennium just a couple of years ago. And now, well, mission accomplished. It's done. There's another potential way that people could actually communicate in a free way that's locked down. So mission accomplished for the Zionists and their pals.
I still play clips. I keep them in my radio rotation like any other songs that you'd want to hear. All those Congress critters grilling whoever the head or the front man of ByteDance was. Do you have access to American data? Answer my, again, Congress really, really grows a spine when the cameras are on and they can ask questions to someone they know isn't going to answer them openly. So they can act like they're fighting for freedom while the other person can act like they're speaking truth to power. I still play those clips. Again, they sound like great clips. The couple 2 times a day, the broken clocks of Congress, again, act like they grow a spine. Do you have access to America? And it all comes down to don't give your personal data to the Chi-Coms, give it to the Zionist tech overlords here in the States. I also played a clip very recently on my morning show of Jordana Cutler, and that is Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, head of Jewish diaspora. I was like, damn, they have a whole department named for that. And she on video says, if you say the Jews run media, the Jews are going to knock you off of that media. If you say Zionist, if you say it bad and you say that we control media, we're going to knock you off of our platforms. Again, pretty interesting way to say the quiet part out loud. And I wonder, James, just out of speculation with the new TikTok launch, if they essentially on launch day had it cranked to 11 as far as the censorship controls. You hear them launch all these things and within 12 hours, it turned into a Hitler quoting, racist, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they had it just cranked to the extreme degree to sort of ease into this new launch. Again, I'm just speculating. And again, speculating with knowledge of how things work when they roll out in this world. Our third and final story. Trump says government will de-escalate in Minnesota following the Pretty shooting. Grabbing this from the BBC. President Donald Trump said his administration was going to de-escalate a little bit in Minnesota, the ground zero of all things corruption here in the United States, after the second fatal shooting of a U.S. citizen by federal immigration officers there. I'm glad they noted that it was a citizen. That citizen had also posted back during the scamdemic that staying home saves lives. Isn't it ironic? Bottom line, it was terrible. Both of them were terrible, Trump said on a Fox interview. In early January, of course, Renee Good fatally shot by an immigration officer, followed by Alex Pretty, who was killed after being stopped by border agents this past weekend. Pretty's death reignited local protests and public outcry across the country and led to criticism from lawmakers in both parties, both whole sides of the system. Trump's remarks are the latest sign his administration is taking a step back in its operations in Minnesota, kind of like how the UK is taking a step back on the mandatory compulsory digital ID. We're going to back it off a little bit, and then we're going to come 2 steps next time. Speaking to other repeaters ahead of a rally in Iowa, Trump said he viewed the killing of Pretty, meaning, again, we all watch snuff films constantly and obsess about it. I think it was a palm gun that did it. I think you guys are all traumatized by watching violent, disgusting videos constantly, thinking that cracking the case is gonna defeat the New World Order. Speaking to other reporters ahead of an Iowa rally, Trump said he viewed the killing of Pretty, an intensive care nurse at a veterans hospital, as a very unfortunate incident. Asked by reporters about whether he agreed with characterizations of Pretty as a domestic terrorist, Trump said, "I haven't heard that." Trump then added, quote, "He shouldn't have been carrying a gun," end quote. And MAGA goes, woo! I've seen the memes of, poking with a stick, poking the NRA logo. Come on, do a revolution. And just because, again, James, all these things, they come with the conspiracy bait baked into the cake anymore. All of it is ready for everybody to speculate. Just because they are playing with Alex Pretty's pictures so he doesn't look like a trans Zionist doesn't mean he deserves to get murdered and whacked in the street. But again, James, I think they have no idea what they're up against. They've spent 25 years kissing Daily Show ass, but now them and their smartphones are going to go out and take on the state. I have been saying over and over on my show for the last now over a year. The first year of Trump did really fly by. I'm not saying I support Trump. I did not vote for Trump. I'm not one of these people who panicked and registered Republicans so they could vote for Trump and now are like, yeah, I think I might leave America. Pfft. I'm not saying I support Trump. I'm saying their tactics are feckless and that their fights are poorly chosen. It'd be like staging some attack at your campaign event. Representative Ilhan Omar rushed on stage, sprayed with liquid at town hall event, and it does look rather goofy and staged, but that's what they said about the Trump assassination hits. They looked goofy and staged. James, there are conspiracy entertainment bits of bait for all two parties. James.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Exactly right. Yeah. And yes, it is. I mean, it's a glorious thing to behold. Suddenly, everyone on the left side of the spectrum is flag waving for the Second Amendment. And of course, we got to carry our guns and it's our rights as Americans. And now we've got Republicans going, no, you carry a gun to a protest. You should be executed on the street. And I will cheer for it when it happens. All these Lindsey Graham level masculine energy guys. I'm not licking boots. I'm wearing the boots. It's bizarre, but hey, Canadian and Japan, I'm not going to step into the rancid pile of doggy doo-doo that is this American Civil War 2.0. I'm sure you guys can deal with it yourselves. But to me, yes, the point is, I think you're exactly right. The people who are just now waking up to the possibility of government authoritarianism have no idea what is going on, have no idea what is really happening, have no idea who is really pulling strings behind these political puppets, what this system is about, what it's doing. They just want to go back to Biden or Obama or something like that. And they have no idea what is really happening. On the other side of it, you've got the people who have completely sold out their principles and integrity so that they can get behind their guys doing it now. So take that, you dumb libtards. It's maddening to behold. And actually, I saw a post on a recent thread about this just a day or two ago. Someone was saying, I'm 53 years old and I've lived long enough now to thoroughly despise both parties. And all I can say is, did it really take you 53 years? I mean, you're a bit slow. If it took you 53 years to figure that out, you're a bit slow. But at least you're getting there. And more people are starting to wake up to this. But hey, which flavor of jackboot do you like? The left version or the right version? How about no thanks? Is that still an option?
Yeah, I think it was the last 5 years that really escalated things for them on their path to being red pilled. I'm not sure what color pills they're taking anymore. And I didn't forget again. There's a lot of angles to a lot of stories. I saw someone say in the comments, James, that was a show. Some other shows go on and talk for hours and hours. Yeah, they ramble for hours and hours. We give you a concise look at what is happening in the news, as we have done for about 15 or 20 minutes for, again, 17 years. The part about the concealed carry. So Alex Pretty had a concealed carry. So he had a gun. So was he had the gun? They took his gun. Then they shot him when he was unarmed. Ridiculous situation. And I do believe I just saw earlier that they have rolled, because I've wondered about this. Are they rolling out the Soundwave cannons yet? They are rolling out the active denial Soundwave cannons that they tested out during the heady days of the Bush administration, where again, I think people imagine themselves to be much bigger rebels against it than they actually were. They are rolling out the LRADs and the active denial systems, of which there is no... all your training in the world, you're not going to fight against that. It's pretty much game over in that scenario, which brings me back to maybe choosing better avenues for your fight for freedom. That is New World Next Week, episode 617. We run newworldnextweek.com. Our shirts are coming back in stock. That is your source for monarchy and Corbett goods that keep us fear-free and ad-free. And I play the exclusive audio of these New World Next Week episodes before they are published. And I do it after my aforementioned morning show, which you can find at MediaMonarchy.com/listen. James.
Awesome. Let's leave it there. James, thanks for the story. See you again next week.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Fuck this shit. I'm just gonna dance now. Fuck this shit. Cause we don't have a chance now. The whole world is fucking gone to hell. Makes me wanna fucking scream and yell. Fuck this shit. I'm just gonna dance now. Fuck this shit. Cause we don't have a chance now.
Guys, all rock. Thank you for being here and hanging out and being a part of the show. We do love the hell out of you, and we can't do the damn thing without you. It's a value for value gig here. If you're new here, you're kind of, just getting into the thing. This is how the show works. Every time you see not only AM Wake Up, but every other show that airs on the channels, all of that content comes to you for free. Nothing is ever going to be put behind a paywall. There's no subscribe to this to get that. You don't have to learn a secret handshake. We get $0 from advertisers. We get $0 from paid sponsors. That's why you don't hear 10 or 12 minutes of ad reads and shit at the beginning of the show or throughout it, because it doesn't exist in this environment. Instead, if you guys see value in what we're doing, you like the conversations, you like the guests, you like the jokes, whatever it is. If you see value in that, send it this way, and that's how we get to do the thing. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can participate. There's a couple of things that we definitely need to see from you guys. Most importantly, time, talent, and treasure. Time and talent, because it's just me doing all of the things 7 days a week in order to make sure that you guys see this stuff and I participate and hit the fucking like button. It's not going to break your wrist. I promise. On the talent end, if you make clips, please do that and get them out there. I don't care if 3 people are going to see it. If you tag us, we'll retweet it too, and then 3 more people are going to see it. The way that we're buried in the algorithm. But it helps. Every little bit helps. Exact same philosophy applies to the treasure part. Every little bit helps. If you're at all in a position to contribute to independent media, all of the direct donate links, including Bitcoin, are in the description. So if you have, 55 Bitcoin and you want to give the show 1, it's going to get dispersed to at least 5 other content creators that day.
Kind of a fucking ass clown wouldn't have the heart and compassion to donate to baby Steve.
Now, let's take a look at some highlights from AM Wake Up from this week. Make sure to support and share their show to keep this great channel going. Share the show. Share the show. Share the show.
Share the fucking show.
I'm a regular ass dude who
Reverend Dr. Brother Snyder, how are you?
I am insulted by the accusation that I was indoctrinated into a tiny niche denomination of pseudo understanding to then walk around.
Cult?
What?
It could be your own cult. It could be your own religion.
You can be a doctor of your own fucking cult. Like, if I just go out and be like, spaghetti monster plus Gomez balls, therefore I'm a doctor of it. Really?
Well, all you have to do is donate to a university some of your megachurch money, and
Yeah.
then you can receive an honorary doctorate in theology.
Okay, but that's an honorary doctorate. Like, to actually be what the academic syndicate describes as a doctor, don't you have to like lick the nutsack of those who think in a particular way to determine that you have in fact been beaten into submission enough to listen to whatever they have to say? Isn't that like the criteria of being a doctor?
Well, yeah, if you don't want to shortcut it and buy your way in.
Yeah, in other words, fuck you, sir. How dare you accuse me of being a doctor?
I was suggesting you shortcut it and bought your way in. That's what I was doing.
Well, that's what the smart-ish people do, but I'm pretty sure they got pegged in order to receive the honorary doctorate in another way. So I don't know. I don't know. To anyone listening who's a doctor, I'm sorry. If you're listening to this show, you probably realize there's some actual truth to what we're communicating right now.
It's true. It's true. Let's see where to start. Let's start with Joe List. Let's do that. Some jokes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my wife, she'll wear a shirt that she's going to sleep in, so she doesn't take her shirt off. She takes her bra off like through her sleeve. You ever see that with like a lady? She'll pull her bra through the sleeve. That's like the meanest magic trick ever. She's like, ta-da! And I'm like, boo! That trick sucks. It's like if you went to see a magician, he pulled a rabbit out of a hat, but then you didn't see tits. You know what I mean? That's not a great analogy either. My analogies need work, but I saw an ad for a bra store. It said it was smaller than this actually, but it was a billboard. It said, we have 90 sizes of bras. I was like, that seems like a lot. Are there 90 breast sizes? I guess there are. I only know 4 breast sizes. I know tiny, medium, huge, and yucky. Those are the 4 breast sizes. There's probably more than that, but less than 90, right?
I would assume there's actually less than. I mean, there might be. There might be.
I'm sure it's more to do with the particular contours of the cupping and, I don't know, support that is necessary for such a garment. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna side with Joe List though on this one. I am. Let's see. I do have some more jokes here. I don't know if we played much or any Stavros Lakius on the show. I'm not sure. Stavi's a funny dude. And totally unafraid of the Rogan sphere. Unafraid to shit on Austin, Texas, even though it is kind of at this point like done to death to make fun of Austin and the comedy scene down there and how terrible it is. But Stavi is in Austin for this.
Nice to be here. Austin, fun town. You guys are building a lot of really shitty houses. It looks like a lot of just absolute dog shit apartment buildings. It's really funny. A lot of tech piece of shit moving in. This is awesome. It was like pretty shitty here before. You know what I mean? Like I came here 6 years ago. I was like, damn, a lot of fucking losers are making this town horrible. And then I'm here 7 years later, just a bunch of guys who are like tweeting at Elon Musk all the time. I mean, first of all, those tunnels. Who the fuck are we kidding? Right? Even people that like him know that's stupid, right? You all know that, right? You think that's a good idea? What was that about? You're like, okay. You've got the look of a fan. You got to change. You got to queer eye yourself a little bit. You do look like an Elon reply guy. I hate to say it. You got to get some bright floral prints. You know what I mean? It's just some. What do you do, buddy? What do you? So get out of here. All right, you're the opposite of that guy. Wow, I'm so sorry, dude. you actually doing something good for the world, and I fucking accused you of speculative investing in fake. My apologies. Do you have a job, buddy? What's going on? How's your life?
I actually work in building those shitty houses.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that puts all the shit on Instagram.
That's not a part of the job. That's not... Hold on, you're telling me construction workers are making content now? In the social media team for construction? You feel that is again, that's not a job. I don't know who's lying to you. Have you been paid yet? All right. Who hired you? Who do you work for?
I don't want to say.
You don't have to tell me. Just what kind? Oh, is it a construction company?
Just a couple of guys. You know?
Just a couple of It's just a couple of guys pay you to take video of other men building houses? That's what you want me to believe. Huh? That's not, okay, again, it's easy, but that's, what value, who are those guys watching like, that's awesome, like, sir. Cool. Do you mean you're spying on construction workers? Huh?
They don't always know I'm supposed to be there, so yeah.
Why are you there? You understand that's okay, what's your title? How about that?
Director of digital media.
Director of digital media? So your videos get posted? For what? What is the purpose? Do they do numbers? Let's get that.
Maybe, I don't look at
You don't look at your fucking full. Something's off here. She lying to me? What's going on? No, that's his job. All right, for a couple of guys. All right. This city is fake, dude. Sucks so much dick. And I'm glad you're employed, but it's like, you know. You're too, like, and you're a social. See, like, here's the funny thing. Your two options are like, be a henchman for some rich developer. Clearly, this man's just like a stormtrooper, essentially. Or like, do something good for the world, then your life sucks. Right? Like, shit's going bad. You're broke, you probably have a bunch of roommates, right? Yeah. How old are you? 24. All right, you got. You're weathered though. You know your life's already. You're a cute guy, but I'm just saying you look maybe 28. You know what I mean? This man's fucking on cloud 9. He doesn't have to do shit. He shows up. Some immigrants that work so much harder for half the pay. He sets up a GoPro and then he's like, "All right, take it easy, Carlos. I'm just here to make TikToks for some reason." And you're just dealing with like children who have been abused by drug addicted parents. You're like, "I'm gonna pay you extra $11 an hour." Yeah, we're fucked.
A little bit of Stabby. He does have Austin Peg though. You're either a freaking henchman to a developer or tech bro, or you're some freaking legacy kid trust funding it up, not having a care in the world.
Well, it's funny. It's good commentary. I just wish the audio was better. That's not on you. I mean, it's just like it's him in the recording, you know. So yeah.
Mm. Which is weird because I'm pretty sure that room doesn't allow cell phones. So that had to been like one of his media team people that should have had a better recording of it.
Man, I keep bumping into people who think that like they don't have to use the stuff that they need to use in order to make it good enough for people to appreciate it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just like get the food close to your mouth and then you'll enjoy it because you smelled it. It's like, well, fuck you. That's pretty close to like what shit audio is for something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Dude makes good money. There's There's no excuse for bad audio when you're doing as well as Stavi is.
Yeah, I just mean it in a general sense for like anytime someone's starting out, and like it's forgivable to a point, but it's like we're all, myself included, everyone, we're all very, very, very spoiled with the standard of media that we've been exposed to, and thinking that that shit just like magically happens rather than being meticulously crafted and built off of technical expertise that goes beyond the margins of what most people would fathom. And yet we expect it. So it's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And expect it to just show up magically for free every day.
Yeah, literally. It's just like, wow. But I mean, like, that's the environment we live in, and it's about to get even worse with AI, because now it is something that you can just magically fart out. So it's like, oh fuck, as bad as it was before, holy fuck, look what we're in for. And that's like a really interesting commentary they had about the idea that, okay, well, if you're doing something good for the world, you get paid nothing. And if you're doing something where you're basically like a teamster for a development syndicate, which is probably just like splooged out of BlackRock trying to dominate the market, then you're going to be living large. And so it really is just one of those things where, what are you working for? Who are you working for? And what does that look like just a few steps down the road? Yeah.
Let's see. You know, it's a bad sentence. Just no matter what nation state it's being spoken about. Just off the top of your head, think about a couple of like really bad sentences that you would, you know, that if you heard them, you'd be like, oh, well, this ain't good.
Like as it applies to nation states?
Mm-hmm.
Democracy.
World leader comes out in front of a microphone, utters 15, 16 seconds worth of audio, sentence or two.
This country needs democracy.
Okay, that is bad. That is bad. However, gets a little worse.
Everyone knows what a sensitive situation and we are in. The last thing that Israel needs right now is elections.
The last
thing, the same thing. Yeah, like literally what I said.
It's basically the same sentence, just a little bit different.
Yeah, it's like the negative of the thing, but the thing I said is actually the thing that is the negative of itself. So, all right, yeah. But at that, like, yeah, it would make sense that in an inverted world, they need to keep spinning it so that you can't figure out which direction is up. And that's what they do best. Yeah.
You know, ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, head by Department of Homeland Security Barbie, Kristi Noem, well, they murked another guy. I'm sure everybody's seen that by now. It's been a couple of days, but, you know, obviously we didn't get the opportunity to talk about it on the show. 37-year-old U.S. born registered nurse. His name Alex Preddy. I mean, there's a lot to get into with the shooting. They also blew a lady's hand off at a protest yesterday or this morning or something like that. Out of hand. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, out of freaking hand. And it seems that these are the people that were too dumb or too out of shape to become cops. The ones that aren't IDF soldiers, at any rate. With 47 days of training, right? For Donald Trump. 47 days is good enough. And then they can get out there, keep the streets of America safe. We have obtained an ICE training video, which I think may go little ways to explain why we're experiencing the problems with these guys that we have been.
I'm just knocking him out. That's all. Hold still. We can beat him to death. Ready? William.
Shit.
Whoa!
Look out!
I got him.
Oh, shit. Can we all shoot at the same time? Let's shoot all.
Let's all shoot at the same time?
Let's shoot at the same time.
Okay.
All right.
That's the only thing that sort of makes sense.
Nope. One.
No, I got Daniel's gun. Mine's out too. Is yours
Two.
out?
And then that way, we'll never know who did it.
Don't Right.
start a count.
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
Nice.
One.
Sorry, my bad.
What the fuck? 1, 2. What? I didn't know.
Okay. On. One.
I'm out. I'm out.
Am I out? Oh, I wasn't out. Sorry. I thought I was out.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to have a couple of issues when I miss Reno 911. That was a fun show. The show was hilarious. I mean, yeah. The dude was a freaking ICU nurse at the VA. I mean, boy, when the Trump regime fucks up, they sure do fuck up. Nobody could fuck up like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the biggest, most colossal, most recognizable fuck up out of all of the fuck ups that have ever fucked up. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we should jump to the actual incident first. Maybe we should. I thought I had the full video of that. Where did that go? Let's see. Okay, here we go. So, I guess warning. This is a violent incident that we're about to watch. So, if you're uncomfortable watching the shock troops of the Trump regime acting the way that they're told to act, the next 2 minutes or so, find something else to do. Everyone else, this is your security force, staged or not. Okay, like it's staged or not. That's the last thing that fucking matters. That is the absolute last thing that fucking matters. And I think you guys know that. I think you do, but it's so fucking lazy to be like, yeah, it's staged. Well, are you dismissing then all of the real shit that happens around it in the actual world? Are you dismissing the fucking effect that it has on the increase of the surveillance state? Like, it's just so fucking lazy to okay, well, it's staged. I don't know, put a little sauce on it. Like, it's just so fucking lazy to me. Anyway, this is fucking nuts. Staged or otherwise.
Honestly.
Yeah. Okay. So what you're seeing right there, that's the dude, Alex Preddy, on the ground. He was legally allowed to carry a firearm. He was living the Second Amendment life that all of these conservatives, all of these right wingers endorse and promote. He was living the values that conservatives traditionally hold dear. A white male legal gun carrier. That's the person that they put forward to be the, face of ICE murderers, the victim face of ICE murders. It's not Manny Hernandez. It's not fucking, I don't know, whatever weird Somali name you can come up with. That's not what's happening. In fact, the last two high profile ICE murders, because nobody's even talking about the other two white people that got shot out in Portland right after Renee Good got shot. They're fucking white U.S. citizens. It's worse than that. Darb, it's worse than that. It's not just ICE shits their pants and shoots if you have a gun on you. It's that the regime is using this as a way to, I don't know, trauma wash the totality of the conservative right into becoming very anti-gun and very pro the government taking the guns. Normal cops aren't the federales. Normal cops, regardless of whether or not they follow them, still have rules of engagement. And they still do get prosecuted. There's a cop getting prosecuted right now for slamming a chick to the ground in the middle of an interrogation. So yeah, it is a little bit different. But here in the video, you've got one cop right there. You can see his arm reaching down the back of Preddy's waist. Okay. So let's back it up a little bit, because the Fed that is, I don't even know if you can see where I'm saying him. He just disarmed Buddy. You can hear one of the feds go, gun. This is them disarming him. Removes the gun right there from his waist. Now he's disarmed. He's already on his knees at his freaking elbows on the pavement already. And he's disarmed. The trigger happy faggot to that cop's right has his sidearm out. And here's what happened. You guys heard the pop. That was the gun that they took off of Alex Preddy being discharged by the fucking ICE agent that took it off of him. Accidental discharge led to the execution of Alex Preddy. So that first pop back here, that pop right there, that's ICE agent number one being so fucking inept with his weapon or with handling weapons that he fucking accidentally discharges the gun. So he couldn't be more dead after the first 3 shots. The dude shot him in the back and in the head. And then this fucking cowboy, after the fact, puts another 4 or 5 in him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Puts 5 in him. Into a fucking dead body. With the other dude drawing down on him too. Okay. Slow-mo. You saw it. You saw him get disarmed. Wow, that's annoying. Let's take that away. Okay. Very, very, very clearly, you can see the dude in the like gray jacket. Here, let me full screen this so you guys can see it a little better. Totally free and clear of the weapon. Weapon gone. Right? Disarmed. Already, again, in a prone position, surrounded by the feds. He's not going anywhere. So at this point, nobody needs their fucking gun out. The dude who's standing up in the center of the screen is going to be the initial executioner. Yeah. Over there. So yeah, let's see. There's that horrible fucking wine still there? There was no, dude, the video was making like a okay. So pop. The confiscated gun goes off. And then pop. Not sure how he didn't shoot his buddy. I'm really not. I don't know how he didn't shoot his homeboy. As fucking reckless as these clowns are. I don't know, that to me is run what back? What are you? I mean, I kind of want to. Who shot? Okay. Initially, the first shot is from the ICE agent that confiscated the gun. You can see him right there. Right, that's his hand reaching into the waistband of Alex Preddy to remove the pistol that was holstered, not out, not brandished, not being fucking waved around in any sort of menacing fashion. He had a phone in his hand. So now this agent draws his firearm after the agent to his immediate left removes the gun. All right. He is at this point 100% disarmed. Not that he was again brandishing the weapon in the first place, but he is disarmed. ICE agent, in the gray hat there, has the pistol, and he is going to turn around and accidentally discharges the pistol, which causes this dude to freak out, shoot him in the base of the spine, then shoot him 2 more times. And then an additional ICE agent puts another 5 in him. Yeah. Yeah. And you do see one of the ICE agents applaud it. I don't know. Did he do it specifically to freak out the? I don't know. Yeah, possibly. I don't know. Let's see. Let's change directions rapidly.
Everything is a scripted reality show.
Nah,
I
shit.
criticize ICE. People get mad at me. They're like, well, how do you think people should be deported? Da, 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 da. Number one, you could pass legislation, which they haven't done. All of the stuff they've done on immigration is through executive orders, a lot of it. It will be reversed immediately by a Democratic president. That's number one. Number two, if you pass legislation and then attach enforcement to that, you pass laws, you then have laws by which the country is governed that will prevent illegal immigration. If you do a reality show spectacle where you're grabbing people here and there, left and right, and it revs everybody up, and you then have protests everywhere, and you have violence, and you have ICE responding to that with deadly force, you don't have a long-term solution. What you do is you're stirring the pot and creating like mini civil wars all over the country that people are watching on television, but you don't have like the enforcement of laws, and you're not going after employers that are employing illegal labor. You're not going after Steve Wynn. You're not going after the big.
I'm gonna come back to this because it's all good shit that Tim said. And again, I know that he left the studio to go have lunch with Cheryl Hines or fucking Usha Vance or something like that. I know he went directly from the studio to a well-connected satanic pedophiles fucking luncheon or dinner or party, whatever. And that's why he's allowed to go out and say this shit. We all understand that. But he's very entertaining. He does it very well. He's one of those pressure release valves for like the normie crew. But to D-Fox's point, everything's scripted, but they're casting people with IQs of 6th graders with stage fright. Yeah, because that's what it takes to get a generation of people, a generation and a half, maybe 2.5 generations of people who barely take anything in beyond what they're scrolling through. We talked about that. It's the thing with Matt Damon going on the Joe Rogan show and saying this is how Netflix is scripting their series and their movies now, to where they're scripted for being background entertainment. So they have to have the main characters repeat major plot points like a fucking dummy throughout the entire production. That's what reality is being scripted for right now, D-Fox. I think that's what the tie-in is. But I mean, it is just it's a theory. It's a theory that I had before I heard Matt Damon talk about it. Yeah, you definitely heard me talk about it before on the show. But it's a fucking thing because that's how they're writing fucking entertainment at this point. Well, what politicians say and do and how they move is just a different form of fucking acting. I'm not saying it's entertainment. I wouldn't go that far. That seems generous. but it's another form of acting. We saw it earlier with the fucking final boss of Subaru owners and Ice Ice Barbie repeating the exact same script that was 100% bullshit and contradictory to reality. But they were both out there word for word, like that fucking video with all the news broadcasters saying the exact same thing. Because it is a scripted reality. And it's a fucking reality that's being scripted for people who are passing through reality while it's playing in the background. The world is being written and scripted for all of the NPCs. That's why we're all fucking frustrated. That's why we're all like, God damn it, this makes me want to tear my god fucking damn hair out. Why is everything so stupid? Why do we live in the dumbest timeline? Because they put us in the dumbest timeline.
Dumb as fuck.
Purpose. Fucking 100 years, a century of a fucking war on education. With Rockefeller textbooks, with Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell textbooks, McGraw-Hill Publishing, Robert Maxwell. That's who put the information in our heads when we were going to school. Ghislaine's papa, the guy who had a book written about him called Israeli Super Spy, the guy who had a state funeral in Israel, where the former Secretary of State, Antony Blinken's stepdad, Samuel Pizar, read his fucking eulogy. But sure, but like it's okay though. Vote harder. It's okay.
Hotel magnates that, you know, employ illegal labor. You're not going after big agricultural firms that do the same thing. So you're going after people. Some of them are bad people. Some of them are probably pedophiles, or some of them have committed crimes or murderers, whatever. Get them out of here. And this nobody's illegal on stolen land thing stupid. And we've gone over that. But you have to also, now, how are you going to get your third house in Miami built in 18 months if you crack down on illegal labor in the construction bit? Well, you're not. You're not. So the endless amount of real estate, like speculation that, like, you know, the whole economy is that. Every reality show is about real estate. Every single thing, that slows down. But here's the good news. Nobody can afford a fucking house. Anyway, the real estate that's being built in Miami is not for you. It's not for you. It's for really rich fucks who want it built quickly. If any of this made sense, and I've said it before, housing would be, if you are using illegal labor to build housing, housing should be cheap, right? That would be the whole point.
Ooh.
You go, well, a house is cheap. Like, sure, there's illegal labor being used, but it's cheap. Now, agriculture has a lot of illegal labor used in agriculture. Well, then the food should be cheap, right? Well, no, the food's not cheap. It's the most expensive it's ever been. Well, what about the houses? They're the most expensive they've ever been. Huh. What about staying in hotels and eating out at restaurants? I mean, all of this has come down surely because of all the illegal labor. No, that's more expensive than it's ever been. Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I like how D-Flock said housing is cheap. Unfortunately, it's not inexpensive. Yes, housing is cheap, meaning they building these cheap goddamn paper mache ass cribs. Yep. But it's not even obtainable. But I just want y'all to know, I need my house built out the same paper that was in the goddamn trade tower. Because I don't want my shit to burn up. Give me that same shit.
Well, in oh, God damn, what the fuck is wrong with
What's wrong?
Oh, the fucking Twitter search thing.
Oh, bro, everything, all social media is fucked up. Instagram's been acting crazy. TikTok's fucked up ever since old boy from Oracle's son decided to buy it for his own personal TV channel. I don't know what Zuckerberg's doing, probably sucking some dick because Facebook's been acting weird. Everything's fucked up all of a sudden, and it all happened, I don't know, in the last 3-4 days. I know Twitter's been fucked up for us for a while, but
just this morning, the search function decided to take a crap on me. But since you brought it up, I did see this the other day in terms of, you know, the kind of houses that they want to give people.
hold on. Oh, I thought it was the one where it was like when the Mexicans and the Haitians are gone. That one was funny.
Now, I can't believe this. They trying to sell us on foam houses. Foam houses. What? Look at this.
Listen close. Do you hear that? Exactly. This is the world's quietest construction site because instead of machinery to cut wood, here at a foam home, crews heat up a wire with a battery pack, stretch it out, and then slice the foam like butter.
I'm sorry, is that supposed to be a selling point?
Then they glue it to the rest of the house with a glue that turns into more foam.
So it is 100% breathable, 100% livable. It is FDA approved and 100% recyclable.
100%.
I ain't trusting that shit.
100% livable. I sure hope so. I think houses today are 100% recyclable also.
Amir Siabi with Strata International Group shows us this 6,000 square foot home being built in the valley with their product. They say as lumber's only grown in cost, foam hasn't really. In fact, building a home this way can be 10 to 50% cheaper.
But it's carcinogenic as fuck.
10 to 50% cheaper. That's why. And you think they're gonna pass them savings on to you as the buyer? No.
But no.
That's still gonna cost $1 million.
No supply chains in the last year that has ever affected us, and no supply chains moving forward that's affecting us.
Eventually, the foam's covered in a thin layer of their concrete formula, and you'd never tell it was a foam home. You might think foam makes a rickety home. They say you're wrong. In fact, they tell us the foam can withstand more than 200-mile-per-hour winds. They call it earthquake and hurricane-proof and fire-resistant.
Yeah, they make it sound like foam is the best thing ever. It's been out there. Why are they just not using it for the whole house?
Amir says the home is essentially made out of insulation, so it's more than twice as energy efficient as a traditional wood structure.
This is the only type of construction that makes sense moving forward due to climate change, due to supply chain. This is the type of product that will make sense to build with, not only because of cost, time frame, but it saves our world as well as being as the most eco-friendly product to build with.
That's right.
Dude.
No. Steve, what the fuck? First off, styrofoam is carcinogenic any fucking way. It just got banned from having our food touch it. So you're telling me we're going to build our house with microplastics, but not even microplastics? We're going to build our house with mega plastics because it's big ass blocks? Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm calling you, Jesus, because your ass skedaddled on us so goddamn quick.
I'm gonna have to pass on that. I am.
You sure? What? You don't want a Lego house? You don't? What, Steve? All we got to do is if we order enough shirts through Amazon, we'll have enough peanuts that we can insulate our own home with. We can build our own foam Lego house. Remember when we built forts at 6? We can do it with the boxes from Amazon and the peanuts inside of it.
Right.
And then the part that got me, did you hear it said a concrete formula? Bitch, why do you have to redo the fucking concrete formula? The nigga just put some concrete on this bitch.
Yeah.
Concrete formula? What's in it? More foam. It's literally foam. We painted gray. It's gray foam.
We said concrete, but we did. We meant more foam.
It's literally gray foam and some Elmer's glue, y'all. We just mix it up.
I agree with Jason here 100%. Shout out to Jason Barker, Knights of the Storm. Fantastic podcast. Go get your learn on. Hempcrete, way better. All the way. All the way. It's pretty much time to get out of here, but I wanted to play this. This is Noor bin Laden. I think a bunch of people are familiar with her and her work over the years. She's on the Steve Bannon War Room. But
is that old white man that be screaming at people?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I catch him when he be yelling.
Yeah. He looks like he's an eye patch away from battling Kevin Costner in Waterworld.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, with the bug out. Yes. You're a dickhead. You are a dickhead, Steve. I just want to let you know that. I love you. I love you immensely.
Accurate representation.
But fuck, I know I be spot on, but damn, Steve, you be spot the accents and then disses. Golly. Don't get on this motherfucker's bad side. Sidebar before we talk about Bin Laden. Saddam Hussein's engagement picture. Jesus Christ, he was a baddie back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Chat. That man was fine as dirt. I didn't know he was that fine. Like shit.
He looked like he fought with Pancho Villa.
Yes. Cause what the hell? I looked at his pictures. I said, "Oh, who was this fine nigga?" They was like, "Don't like it."
Very like Latino influenced mustache.
Yes, even his homies at the engagement party looked like it was the damn Godfather Part 2 when Michael came back.
They looked like pachucos. They looked like fucking East LA fucking gangsters back in the 50s and 60s.
Shit. I'd kill him too, goddamn it, Trump. If I looked how your mama looked, I'd be mad too, bro.
Right? Oh man, dude, she looked like she got fucking beat with the ugly stick by every fucking ancestor in her lineage.
I see why men used to beat women looking at her. Because, bitch, you not finna tell me you didn't cook today. That ugly face, bitch, you better have something on the stove if I gotta come in and look at that. Gee whiz. Sorry, sidebar, y'all. But anyway, back to this beautiful young lady here.
Since we started off the show primarily talking about the ICE events and all of that shit, good to keep in mind, as was suggested early on, that it is all fake and gay, could all be fake and gay, or could be direct coordinated events in order to achieve a form of a color revolution.
Everybody should go as well to the Council on Foreign Relations website. They have 2 articles specifically that I'd like to highlight. One is on the conflicts to watch in 2026, which ties exactly to what is being discussed happening in Minnesota and this, crisis and the so-called U.S. political violence that is ratcheting up, which is true, but you have to understand this is entirely manufactured, just as the managed decline is also manufactured. George Soros has been talking about this for years. He's a master in terms of color revolutions. Your country is 100% going through a color revolution. And the other article also on the Council on Foreign Relations website is entitled Global Summits to Watch in 2026, Bracing for a New Global Disorder, ? And I found that the title was very telling because it ties to everything that's been telegraphed in Davos this week.
Yes, 100%. And I promise you, there's a Rand Corporation document that corresponds with everything else she's talking about. I promise you. That's how these fucks work. I mean, look, I'll prove this real quick with a different Rand Corporation document. Is from March of last year, all about Hezbollah's networks in Latin America. Guess, Teal, what country they target for having the most relations with Hezbollah? If you had to pick a Latin American country, which one would it be?
Colombia. Good coke, bad bitches.
Unfortunately, no, it's Venezuela.
Because
that's, you know, resultant in the kidnapping of Maduro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I promise you there's a Rand Corporation document about all of this too, probably going back to 2015. That's just how those guys roll. Remember Daniel Ellsberg, the whistleblower in Watergate or whatever? He worked for the Rand Corporation. He didn't work for the Nixon White House or anything like that. When they were bugging his therapist, psychiatrist, whatever. He worked for the Rand Corporation. He could very well be Ellsberg, one of the first inserted into the public sphere as a whistleblower type figure who was controlled the entire time. He could be one of those. Conversation for another day. We do got to get out of here.
Most specific by Mark Carney. You know, you have all these liberals as well in the cold open that you posted there. They're all fawning over Mark Carney for his speech. But there is another speech that people haven't been paying attention to, which is a speech that was given by the president of Finland, Alex Stubb, in a talk entitled Rebalancing the New World Order. And he framed the current times we're in the following matter. He said that the New World Order can be multilateral with international institutions, open societies, or multipolar with deals and spheres of interests, and how if you give more power to the global south, they will decide the new world order, as Tim Hinchcliffe spotted there.
Hey.
The point I'd like to make.
Shout out to Tim Hinchcliffe, friend of the show. We love Tim over here.
Shout out Tim. That's dope. We know famous motherfuckers.
I think you've been on with Tim a couple of times. He lives in Colombia.
Hold on. Yeah, is that the one that be talking to me and packing his shit up? With his pipe?
Oh yeah.
I love that dude. Oh
yeah.
Shit. Oh, yeah, he's dope.
That's him. Yeah.
Okay, famous niggas. Okay.
With regards to that is that multilateralism versus multipolarity is a false dichotomy, because at the end of the day, they both lead to the same destination: centralized power, control, governance, surveillance. This is what we've been talking about for years, Steve, on the War Room. And this is when you zoom out, this is what we're looking at, Even the Club of Rome, they had posted many years ago about their plan, their multipolar plan, about regional adaptive models for the global world system. And they basically view the world as zones that they want to divide up to make it easier to manage and then centralized, as opposed to the Westphalian model of nation states, as we've been discussing.
And you guys know because you watch, but I mean, for years, I've been talking about how in the minds of the predator class, there's no such thing as a nation state. These are people who move, in private aircraft, bypassing customs in many cases, or getting breezed right through, who have multiple passports out of multiple countries. There's no such thing as a border to them. There's only transactions. And you and me and Teal, we're human capital. the idea of a nation state is completely out the window for probably realistically 50 years to most, and that includes, you know, whatever generation that was dying out in the 80s or 90s that just adopted this worldview or created the worldview to begin with. This is Elon Musk's grandfather and the North American technate. We've seen all of this and talked about all of this for a very, very long time. And yeah, dude, Bannon is pivotal in creating the things she's describing. I tend to think that Noor knows who she's talking to and what they're about, but I can't prove that. That's just easy, Tiger.
Sorry, I had to give Medusa some water, but you know all of my sinks are dripping water because it's below freezing today. So
right.
It just made that loud, and so I was like, scared the shit out of me too. Shit.
But yeah, that's a decent place to wrap. I have a Independent Media Alliance meeting I have to get to very shortly. So I'm gonna
Come check us out tonight on Blunt Force Wisdom.
Do that.
Be on the lookout for more of our merch.
Plug Political Matrix.
Come check us out on Political Matrix. We are continuing our Saturday shows on YouTube at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time until after Super Bowl. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on anything else that we decide to put the show out on. I'm Voodoo in Nature. You can find me on Instagram. I don't do much but talk shit, as y'all can see. Most likely will try my best to continuously pop in on Mondays, but if y'all know, I got a big girl job, so sometimes I can't. But right. I'm gonna start actually like setting an alarm and probably trying to set my meetings around this, so at least I can pop in for at least an hour on Mondays, talk some shit with y'all, see y'all's lovely messages, and have people try to kick me out, you know, because where's Charles? I'm just picking.
Right. Yeah, Charles was Thursdays. No.
Yeah, so Charles will be Thursdays. Hopefully I'll be on new Mondays. And thank y'all for showing up and showing out. Right. Thank you for all the
I just realized that, like the only show that I do with it where I have a fucking, that's weird, where I have like another white co-host is on Wednesday with Keys, and he's a Canadian. I mean, you know, he's a Canadian, but yeah, Ryan Cristian's Puerto Rican.
Hey,
fucking Wheezy's Mexican.
Come on.
Well, I guess Corey Hughes is very white, but X Cubed is very not white. Yeah. That's yeah. And then Suge, but her eyebrows are Puerto Rican.
And she'll tell you she's part Mexican. I don't see it, but who am I to be ancestry to her? You know?
Right.
I'm not out here doing genealogy tests telling people, spit in my hand, let me figure out what you are.
Right. I saw where culling of the herd. I saw where you said you're doing a hempcrete project. Email me because I want to pick your brain on that. I do. I would like to put up a few of those structures. But thanks again to anyone who donated to the show today. If you are at all in a position to contribute to truly independent media, please do consider this show. I had a Dane Wington clip I wanted to play today. We just didn't get to it. Maybe we'll play it tonight on Blunt Force, which again, 6:30 on the West Coast, 9:30 on the East Coast. Pull up for that. T-Lab Tuesday tomorrow with Gene Owens from Faithless Town, who's one of the show's personal favorite musicians. who just had a freaking brand new baby boy. Yeah, so yeah, always good to talk to Gene. Uncle Ted talks tomorrow night.
Woo-woo.
And yeah, all kinds
Yeah,
of good stuff.
check us out tonight so I can tell y'all the story about how I once again got banned off something, but it took only 4 minutes to get banned.
Wow. Well, that's trying.
That's honestly a record. I didn't think it would lead to that, but the bitch tried to be funny and then she banned me in 4 minutes.
Okay.
I don't understand. So tune in tonight, y'all.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out and pulling up and being a part of the show. Love the hell out of you. And we'll see you soon. Good luck to us all.
Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here's American Gladiators. Watch this. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Here is American Gladiators. Here is 56 channels of it. Watch these pituitary retards bang their fucking skulls together and congratulate you on living in the land of freedom. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you.
If I ever leave this world alive, well, thank you for the things you did in my life. If I ever leave this world alive, I'll come back down and sit beside your feet tonight.